birthday parties and stuff. But I had to come in because last night, so if you remember right, this we're talking about the Carmelo Anthony case. Carmelo, my boo boo. What's up, boo boo? I hope you're doing well, my love. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're doing well. Okay. So proud of you. It takes a lot to be this composed. Oh, you're better than me. You're younger than me, but you're better than me. So yeah, last night when I left you guys last night, I had to go. I was over there with Greg, what's it called? The Black Conservative Perspective. It should be called the Black Self-Hate Channel, right? And so our boy Eddie took the stand. So if you remember from the police report, right? One student had said that Carmelo had a friend that goes to Memorial High School, right? That's also on the track team or whatever, right? And so that person in the police reports was identified as EP. Okay. Initially, I thought EP was a white girl, but it seems like EP is an actual Latino. Okay. I think he's probably a white skinned Latino. So EP took the stand. All right. EP took the stand and then they're gonna ask EP. So is Carmelo? So I'm paraphrasing it. I don't remember perfectly, but they asked EP. His name is Eddie. Eddie Para. Okay. They asked your boy Eddie. So Eddie, do you know Carmelo? He's like, yeah. Would you consider Carmelo to be a friend? He said, like, no, not really. Right. And then I think Carmelo's lawyers like were showing pictures of them hanging out because they had hung out. I guess like the past 3 weeks or so, they had hung out frequently. I mean, they have pictures together. They used to meet outside the school, whatever. But on the stand, Eddie takes a whole different stance. He's like, oh, well, I don't really know him like that. He's not really my friend like that. But remember, before that, hey, Queen. Before that, there was somebody else who said that when Carmelo came over, I guess the person even said that Eddie is the one who called Carmelo over to their side, right? And then when Carmelo got there, that he saw Eddie and Carmelo dapping it up. Okay, or they were dapping it up, right? So I'm like, you dapping up with somebody that you don't really know like that? You invite somebody over to your tent that you don't really know like that. You chill with someone that you don't really know like that. He's like, oh, he's not really my friend. Like, we only hang out when his girlfriend's around. I'm like, boy, what? I guess they said he started crying or whatever, right? I'm like, boy, go sit your stupid ass down for me. So then today I saw a post. I saw a post from the Hodge twins, right? The self-hating biracials. Like the Hodge twins, wherever they grew up in Virginia, were black people really that mean to them? Because you cannot convince me that part of their buffoonery on social media is not the fact that they most likely were bullied by some black kids growing up for being high yellow, aka biracial. You got to get over that shit. You truly have to get over that shit. So I see a post from them, and they're like, "Oh, what they say is it's something like, oh, he's a criminal. That's why he ran. Only criminals run. Only criminals run, and only criminals are what will drop a weapon and start running. So if you drop a weapon and you start running, according to them, that makes you a criminal. Well, thank God the Hodge twins were never involved in writing any laws or yeah, any laws for America. Okay, because that's just outlandish. That's just crazy. But they're all celebrating now because in their mind, right? In their mind, since all the students, right, most there's only been one guy, but I think most of the kids that took the stand are students from Memorial High School. So the whites, I mean, they're mostly whites. The whites are celebrating because in their head, if all the students are saying the same thing, it automatically proves that Carmela was guilty of murder. Hey, Erica, right? You see how they think? But they're going to be the ones to call people low IQ, right? If every witness says the same thing, then Carmelo must be the aggressor. Carmelo did commit murder, da 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 da, da, right? And none of them is actually referring to the law. But let's start with this, right? Does it even matter what these witnesses have to say? The answer is no. Okay. Yeah, the answer is no. Why? Because you have to look at the law, right? There is a law. The Texas no duty to retreat thing, it's a law. And this law has three conditions. Number one, did you have a legal right to be there? First thing. Okay, so let's establish that first. Number two, you cannot be somewhere while committing a crime besides a minor traffic violation, right? So was he there committing like a crime? Okay, so were you legally allowed to be there? Right. Number two, you cannot be there while committing a crime. Right. And then number three, you have to have a reasonable, not an absolute, but a reasonable fear that you would suffer bodily injury. right? So there are three conditions that have to be met. Number one, were you there legally? Number two, where you cannot be committing a crime. I think it's actually you can actually say four, right? You can't be the aggressor. You cannot be the aggressor. You cannot. You have to be there legally. You cannot be there. You committing a crime besides a minor traffic violation. And then you four is that you need to have reasonable belief, right? Reasonable belief that you would have suffered bodily harm. Okay, that's it. That's that. So when they say things like, because the prosecution did this, right? The prosecution put these young people up there and said, "Do you think this was self-defense?" Okay. So let's say they have like 15 people, 15 different students. And you wonder with that many students, why did anybody go call a coach? Right. But anyways, let's say you have 15 students from Memorial High School who took took the stand, right? And then let's say everybody says, no, it doesn't look like self-defense to me. No problem. But this is where I will say, not to be mean, huh? I'm not trying to be mean, but this is where I will say, for as much as white Americans always concern themselves with the IQs of Black people, it doesn't seem like they have any higher IQs themselves. Because number one, who is the people, like the witnesses, like what population is that? These are high school students. Let's just start there. Let's even assume these kids are not lying and they're actually speaking in good faith. Like, yeah, to me, it didn't look like self defense. No problem. But who are these kids? These are high school students. Have these kids ever studied self defense law? No. Do they know any statute of self defense? No. Do they even understand the Texas law of no duty to retreat? No. Have these kids gone to law school? They barely have high school diplomas. Right? So it's very silly. I don't know. White people sometimes, it's a very, I don't know how I'm so conflicted with how I feel about them because part of me feels really sorry for them because 400 Head Start on everybody else, being alone, like being the only people allowed to go to school, to go to high school, go to college and stuff like that. And for them to still be so dumb is really concerning, right? Because why are you rejoicing so quickly? Right? Think about who the witnesses are. These are high school students. Where in anywhere you go, I mean, let's start with the Department of Education, right? No, you do need a formal education because if we didn't need a formal education, then anybody can be a lawyer. Self-defense means something specific. So if you've never studied what the law is about self-defense, or is it because like when you're white, so white people they just receive information through osmosis? Then white people should never go to college. Because I mean, like what you're saying, you don't need a formal education. Then we could all be lawyers then. This is crazy. This is really crazy. Like, what are you even saying? If you don't need, that has nothing to do with equality under the law. Like that's something completely different, right? Right? Self defense means something. Like even me, before I started talking about the Texas no duty to retreat stuff, I had to go look it up, right? You have to go look it up. So I could truly see, right, if the prosecution said, "Hey, here's the definition for the Texas law. It's like it's Texas Penal Code Section 9, dot 31 and 32, right? If the kids at least were presented with the definition of Section 9, 31 and 32 of the Texas Penal Code, and then they said to the kids, based on what you read, right? Not even do you think it's reasonable doubt. It's self-defense. That doesn't matter what they think. What does the law actually say, right? Does the person have a reasonable belief, right, to believe that they would have suffered bodily injury? A reasonable belief. It doesn't even say an absolute belief because that's really hard to prove. But what the law of Texas says, it has to be reasonable. What a normal person in your shoes, given the circumstances, environment, everything, would have acted in self defense, right? You can't just say, oh, Joseph Leon looked at me, so I felt scared, so I stabbed his ass. Okay, that's a bit excessive now. Okay, right? But reasonably, right? Reasonably, would a reasonable person like lambda citizen, right, have said, hey, if I was in your shoes that day, given everything that was happening at that instant, at that moment, at that specific moment, right, that I too would have acted this way. There is a law. And when we start talking and we just opine and go in all different tangents like that, to me it's so crazy. It lacks structure because everybody should start with what does the law actually say, And when we start like that, it removes all the racism, the stipulation, accusation, defaming people, insulting people, degrading people. There's no need for that. What does the law actually say? When you look at the Texas law, Section 931, Section 932, I don't even know what you're talking about, Anthony. The use of force of policy. Anthony, no. We're not talking about that. Texas has a law. It is called no duty to retreat, Anthony. What does that law actually say? You have to stop being so scattered brain. It's overwhelming. It really is overwhelming, right? Because the jury themselves, they're going to have to assess what is self-defense based on what? Section 931, Section 932. So is it not in everybody's best interest to understand what Section 931 and 932 are asking? Right? Because I think we can all agree that you can't just claim self-defense just to claim self-defense. Self-defense means something specific, right? So what is that? Because right now, everybody's like, oh, well, I wouldn't have done that. Well, I don't think it is. I don't think it is. It doesn't matter what you think. Doesn't matter what you think. And that's why even these young people, right? Because I think a lot of them are lying, but even if they were not lying, right? What they think does not matter. It doesn't matter. Like it doesn't matter. They're not the one on trial. They're not the one who did it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you worked in law enforcement. Hey, for me, there are plenty of people who work in law enforcement are complete idiots, right? So it doesn't matter. What matters is that, Anthony, you know exactly what law to find and you know exactly what law to apply to the case, right? But if you worked in law enforcement in the military, then you should know that you can't ask a third person, hey, does this look like self defense to you? That's not how it works, right? There you go. So if you worked in law enforcement, you of all people should know it's not up to a third party, especially a non-juror, to say, yeah, oh yeah, you know what? This doesn't really look like self-defense to me. It doesn't matter, right? If you're asking a bunch of high school students, irrespective of where they go to school, hey, does this look like self-defense to you? Doesn't matter. These young people never even study any stature of self-defense. What is the definition of self-defense? They don't even know. And then their friend is dead. So of course to them, it doesn't look like self-defense because their friend is dead. Their friend is dead. So of course, they're like, oh, what? You're crazy. You killed my friend. So in their eyes, this is not self-defense. You took that shit too far, which is reasonable. But that's an emotion. The law is not emotional. And I think what a lot of white people are doing, you guys are extremely emotional and you're showing your IQ. All the things you ask from Black people. Oh, be stoic, be intelligent, be Cartesian, be sentient, be this, be that. But now that the shoes on the other foot, right? All we see are just a bunch of emotional tirades. And there's not a single white person that says, what exactly is the no duty to retreat law? Right? And for Carmelo to actually be able to use self-defense, what requirements does he have to meet? We're not having a structured conversation. Oh, he's a thug. Oh, why did he bring a knife to school? Oh, why is he Black? Oh, why did he have dreads? Oh, why was he there anyways? Oh, why, blah, blah, blah. Like just asking all kinds of stupid questions because you're not looking at the law. The price of freedom is heavy for everybody, right? It's like the price of the freedom that makes somebody think that they can grab somebody and physically remove them, right? You shouldn't be afraid to watch nothing. No, they're not intelligent. Hey, Whitney, what's up, baby? Right? That's it. You're all over the place. You have to start with the law. What is the law? When you look at the Texas Penal Code, Section 9.31.32, what does it say? Right? No duty to retreat. You cannot be there illegally. You have to have a legal right to be there, right? You cannot be there committing a crime unless a minor traffic violation. You need to have a reasonable belief, not an absolute, but a reasonable belief that you are facing deadly bodily injury, right? What's the fourth one? I forgot the fourth one. You cannot be the aggressor. There you go, right? Let's just talk about that. Let's just keep it structured. And then we go from one condition to the next, to the next, to the next, right? This is how intelligent people argue. It has to be structured. Because when we start saying, oh, you're Black, you're this, you shouldn't have been to the tent, you shouldn't have been there, you should have done this, you should it doesn't matter. Look at the law. Oh, why did you bring a knife? Why did you bring a It doesn't matter. It truly doesn't matter. And also, if the DA really wanted to, they could have charged the knife as a criminal act. So that way you make the whole thing criminal. Okay, well, he was already here doing something criminal anyway. So boom, that's it, that's that. Right? There you go. But the law is very structured. But I think white people, in the way that you reason, you guys are very much giving like village people. It's very much giving low IQ. How can grown people rejoice that teenagers are giving their personal appreciation? Like, oh yeah, because they said it, it must be factual. That is not how the law works. And that is not how the court works. And for white people who are always here preaching to everybody else that they are America, we are the Americans, we're here, this is our country, this is our country. But how come you don't understand your own laws? A witness statement is not a statement of facts. They give their statements, whatever. They should lie, but even perjury is hard to prove. So go ahead. If you want to lie, go ahead and lie, right? But to rejoice, like you're in your 30s, you're in your 40s, you're in your 50s, and you rejoice because a DA, hey Jamal, you rejoice because a DA, a grown man who went to law school, is asking high school students what they think about self-defense. And that makes you happy. Then you're clapping like seals. But then if I call you people stupid, I'm gonna be the mean one, right? They're like, this is nothing. It's completely inconsequential because these young people are high school students. None of them are lawyers. I could even understand if these people were actual lawyers and they were asked, does this look like self defense to you? Because then lawyers have studied toward and this, and that. Lawyers understand what a self defense looks like and what it does not look like. I understand if 15 lawyers from Texas, if you had 15 criminal lawyers from Texas, right, who took the stand and said, hey, after everything we know, after everything I know, the way I look at this case, it's not self defense. And here's why. That's a lot different. I would give that way more weight because I'm like, look at who's talking, right? That person to me will have way more authority because that person went to law school, especially if they practice law in Texas. If you have 15 criminal defense attorney from Texas who take the stand and then they say, yeah, to me, this doesn't look like self-defense, that holds more weight. But to ask high school students, 17-year-olds, 18-year-olds, hey, do you think this looks like self-defense? That is so stupid. And that even lets you know that the DA himself, he don't trust his case. But when you're dumb and you're evil, you rejoice at all kinds of stupidity. Because even you would say, fam, you went to high school. You're still in high school. What do you know about self defense? I went to high school in America. Never once in my life, while I was in high school, did we ever study anything pertaining to self defense. We don't study the law in high school. We take AP, you can take US history. Yeah, you can take AP government. But please tell me where in high school do we start studying the actual law? We don't study that shit. They save that shit for law school. They say it for law. That's called tort. We don't do tort in high school. You do that shit in fucking law school. So even him, the DA, he's a lawyer. He went to law school. He a grown ass man. He went to law school. And he knows it's incredibly stupid. Hey, Esther, it's incredibly silly to ask a bunch of high schoolers if they believe that this is self defense. That is stupid. You're wasting our time because it does not matter what they believe. The law is not about what somebody else believes. That's not what the law says. It's about what Carmelo reasonably believes he was facing at that time. So the most important testimony is Carmelo. It's not anybody else because it's about what he believed he was facing at that time. And if that belief was reasonable. So the main concern for everybody, did Carmelo have a reasonable belief of bodily injury harm? So if he reasonably believed that he could have died that day, he had the right to act in self-defense. You have to ask the right questions. But you want to ask questions that make you feel comfortable so you can be mean to this child and then say that you're not a racist. No, but you are a racist. Because be so for real. Imagine if you were on trial and you for self-defense. You're facing a murder charge. And they go take a random person. Oh, do you think he acted in self-defense? You be like, what the fuck? What does it matter? Who are you? You weren't me that day. You weren't in my shoes that day. You don't know what I was facing that day. Right? It's a very stupid question. If the DA man, if he was an honest man and he had a solid case, what he would actually do was give these kids the actual law. I say, read this based on what you read, right? Did Carmelo have a reasonable belief that he was facing deadly bodily injury harm? That's the question he should have asked. But he's not going to ask that question. Because if anybody says yes, I mean, we did push him. There you go. Right? He's not asking the right question. And you people are falling for it because you want to hear what you want to hear. Oh, they're all saying the same thing. It doesn't matter if they're all saying the same thing. Doesn't matter. Witness statements are not statements of fact. They're statements. When it comes to the stand, you think when it comes to taking the stand, a lot of people, jurors included, don't know people be lying. People lie. People say things to protect people. People say things to protect family. People do all kinds of bullshit, right? But go ahead, give your testimony. But just because you give a testimony, it doesn't make it credible. Even the mere fact that all these kids are coming up there and they're all saying something different. There are a lot of inconsistencies because it's hard to lie as a collective. It's really hard. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what they think. It doesn't matter what a group of high school student who has never studied tort, has never studied the Texas law, have never studied anything about the Texas law, no duty to retreat, think about self-defense. You've never studied this, right? Use of force, proportionality, exactly, right? So let's address that, Anthony. Proportionality. Carmelo is 5'9", 130 pounds. Austin is 6'1", 6'2", 225 pounds, right? You see what I'm saying? Y'all like to type shit because you want to make it seem like, oh, look, I'm above the fray. But no, you in the fray. Because if you had done your homework, you would know that it was not proportional. It was disproportionate, right? If Carmelo and Austin were the same size, I understand your point, but they're not. Austin is 225 pounds. Carmelo is 130 pounds. Austin is 6'1", 6'2". Carmelo is 5'9". Okay. So let's talk about that for a second. Right? Objective, reasonable. Exactly. Exactly. So look at the venue. We're talking about metal bleachers, aluminum bleachers, concrete steps in the rain, people getting pushed. Is that reasonable behavior? Right? Minimum necessary. How many pokes did he have? Was Austin stabbed multiple times or was he stabbed one time? Right? Duty to de-escalate. No, I don't know about the duty to de-escalate. But since Austin knew jujitsu, he had a duty to de-escalate. Right? Stop being racist. Truly, it's embarrassing. And I feel like for a lot of white people too, like being racist in 2026, it's so archaic. It's so passe. Like it is so anachronistic. Like it doesn't fit in modern times. Truly, come to the light. Be an intellectual. Actually showcase that you can be intelligent. Right? It's not that hard. It's really not that hard. Shit. Okay. I've seen it thought that it's better to die than kill. Then you're more than welcome to go die, my love. You can join the military. It doesn't matter what you have seen. That is not the law. That is a matter of opinion. And your opinion is irrelevant. But you're more than welcome to rather go die than kill, wherever it goes, right? You're more than welcome to do it. Right? Nobody is stopping you. But is that the law? Right? Does the Penal Code of Texas say, oh, it's better to die than to kill? Doesn't say that. Right? If anything, Texas says if you have to protect your life, you have the right to kill. There you go. So what you say and what the law says, it's not the same. The spirit of the law, no, it's not by published scholar. It doesn't matter. And if anybody asks you which scholar even said that doesn't matter, because those scholars also will not be admitted as witnesses, and the jurors will not be told to take those scholars' opinion into consideration. It doesn't matter. You're trying to muddy the water by bringing stuff that's completely irrelevant. It's completely irrelevant. Any scholar can write whatever he wants to write. God bless him. That's the whole point of freedom of speech. Write what you want to write. However, when it comes to the court, we have structure. We have a lot of structure. Okay. And the jurors will have instructions. This is what self defense is. This is what it's not. This is what the law of Texas says. And here's what it doesn't say. So, this is how we need to have the conversation. That's it. That's that. It's not that hard. But I think for a lot of you white people, it seems as though like many of you guys went to some very poor, underfunded school districts because the way you reason is so embarrassing. You are truly a pathetic people. And I'm not even trying to be embarrassing, At this rate, America really is going to fall really, really behind China. Because it's like, it's insane to me, right? The law is very clear. You cannot be the aggressor. You have to be there legally. You cannot be there while committing a crime besides a minor traffic violation. And fourth, you need to have a reasonable fear that you are facing deadly bodily harm. That's it. That's that. Pretty clean. It's pretty clean, right? But it's like a lot of white people, it's like it's your feelings, your perceptions, your opinions, your racism, your bigotry. None of that matters in court. Not in the court of public opinion of the white people. I mean, it's a village of ratchet. So I guess go ahead, trailer park, right? But at the courthouse is not the trailer park. The courthouse is not a local pub. The courthouse is not where a white mob just lynch people. Right? No, it's not that, my love. It's not that, Anthony. And you're more than welcome. You're on the computers, right? Because I'm on my phone, right? So, Anthony, you can go up, go to Google, and type Texas no duty to retreat. What are the requirements? And then coming back and paste them over here. It's not that hard, Anthony. It's not that hard. We have to stop doing this stuff because you see, all this stuff. It leads to all this racial tension. It's dangerous for everybody. It's very dangerous. Y'all like to play with fire, but yet you're not firefighters. You like to play with fires. Yes, many of y'all don't even have fire extinguishers. This is very dangerous. Racial tensions can get really, really bad really, really quickly, right? Yeah, be very careful. Be very careful of flaming flames of foolishness that you can't turn off. Because when people start acting a fool, y'all not gonna come out here and say, "Oh, it's better to die than to kill." You're not gonna do that. So be very careful. The law is clear, Anthony. You go on Google and you type Texas no duty to retreat law. And we have the conversation from that point. But I'm telling you, the law never says, what do other people think? No, the law says the person who acted in self defense, did they have a reasonable belief that they were facing deadly bodily harm? That's it, that's that. And that's a question that many of you white people do not want to answer because it's not convenient. But I promise you, if you don't do that, you're going to be really hurt. You're going to be truly, truly hurt. And what it seems as though some of y'all don't seem to understand, right? Because you're so quick to be racist. But if you had taken the time to even look up, that's fine. But the law does not talk about dignity. Even when you look at the Declaration of the Bill of Rights, I don't know, is it the Declaration of the Bill of Rights? But it says unalienable rights. I don't even know which paperwork has the word dignity of the individual because even dignity is subjective. What might be dignified to you is not dignified to me. Racism is dignified to a lot of white people. They're still doing it from like the 1500s until now. There are many white people who are still racist and they find so much pride in being a racist that is very dignified to them. It's not dignified to me. So when we speak on dignity, right, it's very subjective. The law is not subjective. You want the law to be subjective. But if we go according to you, the way you think, we're going to have an extremely tribal country. You want tribalism, right? There you go. And also, you might find that there's somebody out there who has higher standards of dignity than you, right? Because you're not the most dignified human being, right? You're not the most dignified human being. If I take you to Japan, for example, you will see that your mindset or your so-called dignity, when compared to Japanese dignity, as a white American, you are completely indignant. You are dishonorable, right? But when you live in your white bubble, you can pound your chest and talk about dignity as much as you want, right? But when you go to Japan as a white American, I'm sure you'll see how your country dropped nuclear bombs on people, right? So miss me with the whole dignity stuff. When you are a white man from America, a nation known for dropping nuclear bombs and all kinds of bombs on poor, vulnerable people. So there is no dignity here. So miss me with the performative. Miss me with that shit. Okay? No, we're not similar at all, Joseph. You and I are not similar at all. You don't know me. We don't know each other. We're complete strangers. So how are we similar? Okay? No, let's not do that. Okay? It's too much violence. It's incredible, right? What military superiority to white the black? You're not gonna distract me. I'm not even getting involved with that in that crap. Okay? That's it, that's that. So I'm not gonna be here for long. But I think it's very silly to see a bunch of grown adults clap like seals that teenagers are giving their personal opinion on what self-defense is and what self-defense is not, when these kids themselves have never studied self-defense. So it doesn't matter. They're not lawyers, doesn't matter. They've never studied criminal law, doesn't matter. They've never studied tort, it doesn't matter. Oh, what do you think is self-defense? You think that's self-defense? You think that's self-defense? Then get out of here with that. Okay? That's not how it works. And the jurors are not going to be told, hey, if the witnesses think it's not self-defense, you must come back and rule accordingly that it's not self-defense. These are not the instructions. These are not the instruction that that the judge is going to give to the jury. Oh, because these high school students said it's not self-defense. So you must go back there, deliberate, and agree with the students. Like, what the fuck is this? You know dang well that's not how it works. But you're so desperate to want harm for this child. And what y'all don't realize that you don't think about life. That's so funny with life, huh? The more harm you wish for someone, the more harm you truly wish for yourself. Everything in life is a seed. The more you want to see somebody do bad, the more you want to see somebody hurt, the more you want to see somebody die, the more they're going to thrive. But when you lack wisdom and when you lack knowledge of God, you are bound to make those mistakes. How many people in your life you know that you wish harm on that person and it came to pass, right? How many people do you know in your life? Oh, I can't wait for this person to die. No, they're still alive. Oh, I can't wait for this person to lose it all. They're still here winning. The more you wish harm on people, you are truly wishing harm on yourself. When you truly want someone to fail, you wish them all the best. When you want someone to thrive, keep wishing harm on people. And the more harm you wish on people with baseless accusations, the more the person is going to win. Y'all don't even consider the flip side of the coin. Is that even to the jury, especially with Eddie, you're Carmelo's friend, but now you're flipping on him. You told him to come over there. You greeted him. Y'all were having a conversation. And now you're telling us, oh, he's not really my friend. Oh, I don't really talk to him like that. Well, I didn't feel like I had to stand up for him. You guys don't also want to consider the other side of the coin where the jurors might find that suspicious. What changed between that day and now? Because it's been over a year. Did somebody get to you? Did people pressure you? Were you bullied to say that? Because it's weird. Why do people flip on a friend? You have pictures being with Carmelo. You hang out with Carmelo. You know Carmelo. You called them over there. Even other kids from Memorial High School said you dapped them up and y'all were having a conversation. So I'm sure you were smiling, he was smiling, right? And now a year later, you're saying, oh, I don't even know him. Oh, he's not really my friend. Oh, I don't know that guy. I don't really know that guy, right? But Eddie's testimony could make the jurors be like, something here is weird, right? Because when people try to do something too perfect, that's how people usually get caught. And that's the problem with trying to control the hands of justice. You're going to make a mistake, right? So even the jurors could say, yeah, this is a little too clean, too neat. Y'all don't know these jurors. And you assume that, oh, because I'm a racist, they're going to be a racist too. Everybody white not racist. Everybody who is white is not low IQ. Everybody who is white is not quick to indict people just on hearing people's testimony. No, okay, but what about Carmelo's perspective? And in the courthouse, that's the whole point of having a trial, that everybody's side could be heard, especially the defendant. But the way a lot of you white people are moving is as if the government accuses somebody, automatically the government is right. You people got too comfortable with big government. The way today, so many white Americans are so trusting of the government, the feds, the FBI, the CIA, the DOJ, it's really concerning. Because when you look at the founding fathers, especially John Adams, John Quincy Adams, they always encourage people to have mistrust of the government. And as a general public, we should most likely be on the side of the defendant. Because, and this is why in America, in the court system, okay, the reasonable doubt, the burden of proof is not on the defendant, it's on the government. But like, oh, the prosecution, they put a bunch of 17-year-olds on the stand. Oh, they've done such a formidable job. You are easily impressed by the prosecution calling teenagers. That impresses you. When I tell you American people got soft, American people got too soft. If George Washington could come out the grave, he'd be so embarrassed. Y'all got too soft. So you're hold up, hold up, hold up. Especially people of Texas, right? Y'all pay all these taxes so that the DA on your behalf can spend millions of dollars on a case just so he can put up some teenagers and ask teenagers, "Oh, do you think this is self defense? Does it look like self defense to you?" You're like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, that's it, prosecution, that's it." We are now living in a country where the average citizen is rooting for the government. This is crazy. This is crazy. And somehow y'all don't think that you're living in a fascist country. You have been brainwashed to root for the government. You have been brainwashed to root for prosecutors because you don't like somebody. You hate yourself. You hate yourself because one day, especially a lot of you whites, you're crazy. One day, a lot of you whites will have to be where Carmelo is. And I pray that your friends and family root for the prosecution. Because after all, the government is always right, correct? You are insane. You spend all your time insulting people, calling people not real Americans, this, and that. But look at you. Is it truly an American thing to be pro government? Is it truly American? Like if John Quincy Adams was here right now, John Adams, John Quincy Adams, James Madison, George Washington, Benjamin Franklin, Thomas Jefferson, if they were true, if they were here right now, whose side would they be on? Carmelo's side or the prosecution side? You people are so anti-American. You do not know what it truly means to be an American. Because per the Constitution, you are innocent until proven guilty. The burden of proof is on the prosecution. And so for you, if you are an average white American and you think that the government has met the burden of proof by simply asking high school students who have never studied tort, this is a matter of tort. They have never studied a single statute of the Penal Code of Texas. They do not know what the Penal Code 931 says, and then we're asking them what they think. This is asinine. It's a waste of taxpayer money. It would make more sense to have 15 lawyers, 15 criminal lawyers give their witness testimony on what they think if this is a self defense case or not, because they're actually lawyers. They practice law. They have to go to law school, they have to pass the bar, and they have cases under their belts. No, you put the word of a high school student on top of an actual lawyer in Texas who has studied criminal law and has had cases. You people are not too smart. I'm not trying to be mean. But they're just rejoicing, rejoicing, as if the world a bunch of 17-year-olds giving their personal opinion on what self-defense is holds any weight. It doesn't hold any weight. Does not hold any weight. And the judge will never say to the jurors, "Oh, because these kids think that it was not self defense, you must rule accordingly." No, witnesses do not get to decide the outcome of a case. Witnesses do not get to decide that. That is insane. Do you know how many people lie in court? Exactly. That Anthony actually post the language. Don't just post the numbers. I know what the numbers are. Post the language that everybody can see. There are four requirements, right? And if those four requirements are met, he's acquitted. So why are we doing all this foolishness? Like, why are we being so verbose and shit? It's insane to me, right? No, it's okay. Let them do what they want to do. You don't bother me, right? Let YouTube what do who cares? But my point is like it's really silly. It's truly, truly silly. It's extremely silly. You cannot see a bunch of high school students take the stand being asked, "Do you think this is self-defense?" Who are they? It's the same thing I said about Austin. Who is he to remove anybody? So when it comes to giving their thoughts on self-defense, right? High school students. Then why don't we have a bunch of high school students out just practicing law? Instead of taking the SAT, they should just pass the law, the bar. Fuck the SAT, just pass the bar. If it's that easy to be a lawyer, if it's that easy to understand self defense, if it's that easy for a high school student to be able to properly understand self defense and just look at it like, yeah, based on what I see, that's not self defense. If that's the case, why are we giving kids the SAT? They need to go ahead and pass the bar. People should be lawyers at 18 then. You are like, you're asinine. Like something in your head, it don't work right. Truly and honestly, something in your brain doesn't work right. That's why I say there's no way you can convince me that racism is not a mental illness. Because if you're not a racist, you will even say to yourself, like, yeah, these people are high school students. They're like 17, 18, taking what, what's it, English, history, whatever, whatever. They're not studying no damn law and no damn high school. So how can we even trust them to even know what self defense is? Even if they're not lying, let's assume none of these kids are lying. It doesn't really matter. Because as a teenager, as a high school student, how well do you know self-defense laws and clauses? You don't know shit. You don't know shit. And even if you're a freshman here of college, you still don't know. Oh, please, let's stop this right there. You're not even going to get a chance. But you see how this man came in there? The first thing he wants to do is type the N word. You see this? Like, they're so ridiculous. And some of you white people, you got to check your people. They're very stupid. Anytime, I'm like, if you disagree, say why you disagree. But to use a racial slur because you don't have a valid argument, and that is my point, low IQ behavior, extremely low IQ. And this is where I agree with Charlie Kirk. I mean, the spirit of Charlie Kirk, right? No matter who it is, black, white, whatever, tell people when they have low IQ. I think a lot of whites have low IQ. We're having an actual conversation. If you disagree, say why you disagree. But I'm gonna start typing the N word, and you think I'm gonna let you finish? Like, you're silly. You're extremely silly. You're blocked. Go somewhere. Really go somewhere. This is really silly. So it's insane. So I'm about to go now. I've been here before. I gotta go. Right? But it's really, really silly. What these young people said, as far as like them appreciating self defense, it doesn't matter. Now, what they did say that matter was Austin is the one who put his hands on people. Austin is the one who made this thing physical. He put his hands on people. And all of them said he pushed, he nudged, he shoved. They're trying to use all kinds of words to kind of like, to lighten the gravity of what he did, right? But they all said the same thing. Push, shove, nudge, push, shove, push, 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 right? Nobody, or Carmelo's not the first one to put his hands on people. Carmelo was not simply asked to move and he goes straight for a knife and he starts stabbing people. You will want to believe that because it fits your racist interest of black people. You want to see black people as the most evil, nasty, belligerent, da 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 people on earth because that's who you truly are. Understand? When they say beauty is in the eye of the beholder, so is evil. If you're a type of person that goes around, you see beauty in people, because you're probably also very beautiful people. But if you go around and you just see evil in everybody else, because there's so much evil in you, you see the world the way you see yourself. And all this projection that whites always do on black people, because that's who you are. And when maybe you look at black people, you see yourself. So we all need healing, but you're not better than anybody else. And this case has really shown that white people are not better than anybody else. Just as low IQ, just as quick to jump to conclusions, just as quick to tarnish somebody's character, just as quick to rush to some serious, dangerous ass conclusions without even waiting for the trial. You get to a certain point at a certain age, you should say to yourself, you know what? Even though I'm really upset, I'm very triggered by what I'm hearing, right? I need to wait until this goes to court because when you go to court, you hear way more than what the media has told you, your favorite influencer has told you. Because whether it's your favorite influencer or it's the media, they are not privy to so much information. There is so much they don't know. Sometimes they tell you what they know, and sometimes they intentionally mislead you. And we need to learn that. How many people now? How many people have been destroyed by the media or allegations or content creators? And then later on, we find out the story was reported inaccurately and that many things were truncated. Many details were removed because the goal was to trigger hatred out of people. At some point, we have to resist the urge to not even just be tribal, but to be barbaric. That is just being barbaric, attacking people, insulting people, wishing harm on people, threatening people, their livelihood, wanting people to die, death threats. It's barbaric. And you're just saying that with so much asymmetry to your information. You don't have full knowledge. You do not have full knowledge. You are a complete observer, way away, way removed from this. You have over 1,000 degrees of separation between what's the actual evidence and what you think you know. And here you are on your crazy horse of hatred, trying to just set the town on fire because a bunch of black people live there. It's ridiculous. You have to stop. You truly have to stop. And bunch of witnesses saying the same thing does not automatically means it's truthful. Collusion is a thing. Lying is a thing. And it's up to the jury to determine if they find these young people credible. But at the end of the day, it is not up to these young people to determine whether or not Carmelo acted in self defense. That's not for them to decide. It's for the jury to decide. And for as much as white people claim that America is their country, this is our country, it's our country, the fact that you can distinguish the responsibilities of a juror, responsibility of an eyewitness, is outrageous. You should understand this legal process way more than the rest of us. You are allowed to go to school for way longer, right? You love to pound your chest. This is my country, it's my country. Okay. Then start showing mastery of your own legal system. Stop being a fucking fool and stop spreading nonsense and stop rejoicing too early. You never heard of that? And that's how many battles have been lost because people rejoice too early. Napoleon made the same fucking mistake when he went to Russia. And what happened after that? He got his ass whooped. And what after that? And what after that? That's fine. I don't have to consider me anything. I could care less. I do not care. And what makes you think I even want to be considered American? You people are hateful. You're very hateful. But I don't need to be considered an American for me to understand how the Constitution works. You're such an American and you're so ignorant of your own laws. Like that's crazy, isn't it? I don't care to be considered an American. Have you seen the history of this nation and the stuff that is still going? White people are still committed to being a racist. Who wants to share the same label as racist people? If to be an American means that you have complete irreverence of the law, you don't respect due process, you don't let jurors do their job, you attack, you insult, you smear, you kill, you mob, you lynch. I do not care for you to see me as an American. I don't want to be an American because it doesn't sound like a brand of honor, dignity, and respect for the law and respect for due process of the law. You call yourself an American, but you will quickly trample due process just because you hate a black person. So if that's your version of being American, I don't want that fucking shit. You can keep it. It's disgusting. And that's why today, even in the world, nobody wants to fuck with America. Look at NATO. None of the white countries there, no European country wants to pay their dues because they don't like the way they're being treated by white Americans. People are tired of being bullied. You don't have a good brand. You don't have a good brand. And everybody is seeing it. Doesn't matter if you live in Colombia. Does not matter. No one cares. And maybe in Colombia too, y'all have no respect. A lot of y'all are white. You're not even actual real Colombians. So who's to say, oh yeah, why don't you live here if your country's so great? So you are an American, but you live in Colombia because you can't afford to live at your broke ass. So either you're too broke to live here, but you want to talk about who's an American and who's not. Leave Colombia, come over here and struggle. Come over here and deal with these high gas prices. You're like, you got some nerve. You truly have some nerve. You truly have some nerve. Oh, why don't you live over here? Exactly. But if it was anybody else, oh, you fled your country to come to America. You fled your country, right? You fled your country, go to Colombia. What is it, a second world country, third world country, right? Then from over there on the cheap ass internet connection, you want to start assigning who's an American and who's not. Shut up. You have no understanding of the law. You have no respect for due process. Being American is not just a title. It's like even me, when I became a U.S. When I became naturalized, you have to take an oath to protect the Constitution and things like that. You people, yeah, you're not an American. Yeah, yeah, by birth you are. By birth you are. But if you had to really be evaluated by the founding fathers, like you're embarrassing. You have no respect for due process of the law. How can anybody believe that? Oh, a witness, whatever witness says, is automatically what a juror has to take into account. Oh, based on what you heard the witnesses says, that's how you determine a verdict. It doesn't work like that. That is not how it works. Because if it did, we should all be scared. Because people lie. It's you. People lie all the time. But up to the jurors to determine, are these witnesses credible? What part of their testimony is credible? But it's not up to these kids to determine whether or not Carmelo acted in self-defense. That's not up to them to decide. That's why we have a jury. And that's why we even go to court. Because court is for everybody to tell their side. The prosecution tells their side, and the defendant also he or she gonna tell their side. And if they choose not to take the stand, the jurors are told not to hold that against them because per the Constitution, you have the right to remain silent. Nobody likes to argue, Anthony. You're not that smart. That's why you're in Colombia. Okay. That's why you have to take your American passport, your white skin to go to Colombia because you believe that if you go there, when it comes to women, you'll have better luck because you're a loser. You are a white loser in Colombia with pretty much no money, right? Begging these little Colombian girls to find you attractive or to be seduced by your US passport. You're a passport bro, right? You're such a loser. You are a passport bro. Of all the white women here, why couldn't you find a wife here? Right? Nobody cares if you unsubscribe, Anthony. I never even knew you were subscribed. I could care less. I don't run my channel to collect subscribers. I could care less. So do as you must do. I don't care. I don't know you. You've never even said hi to me. You've never came on any of my live streams. Oh, hey Marlene, how are you? How was your day? You've never cared to interact with me. So if you unsubscribe, I don't care. I didn't even know you were subscribed. Hello? So I could care less, Anthony. Right? You never cared to get to know me. You just came today because it's racialized conversation. So here you are showing up, right? But I have plenty of conversations that are not racialized. You've never cared to come and say hi to me, right, Mr. American? Okay, you don't have good manners, so you unsubscribe. Whatever you do, I do not care. I never get paid per. I don't get paid per subscription. I get paid per views if I choose to monetize my videos. But I don't monetize a lot of my videos because I could care less. I'm not a money driven person. I'm not obsessed with money like that. But what I'm saying is, I find it really. I came here to say I find it very, very silly, right? That so many white people are clapping and cheering because the kids are all saying the same thing. It doesn't matter if they're saying the same thing. Saying the same things doesn't automatically mean that you're speaking truth. The jurors have to decide that. Just because everybody says the same thing, it doesn't make it credible because collusion is real. This thing happened over a year ago. People have had time to come together and potentially force people to say things a certain way. It happened a year ago. They all went to Memorial High School. Also, Austin is dead. And if they were all friends with Austin, they have an incentive to lie a little bit. They have an incentive to say, oh yeah, Carmelo's the aggressor, and Austin was being so, so, so nice. Because he's their friend. He's their friend, their teammate. Maybe he was also their bully. What do I know? Right? But just because you said something on the stand does not mean that you are credible. Every witness is not a credible witness. A bunch of witnesses together doesn't make it any more credible. Okay, you say the same things, but do you have a motive to lie? Is there? Should we also be concerned about bias? Do you have an interest to protect Austin and Hunter? Right? These are all things that jurors are going to have to consider. So for white people who are always painting black people to be tribal, to be low IQ and this and that, it's really not lost on me that you yourself are not showing a lot of intellectual dexterity because you're not asking the right questions. Is a witness test or witnesses' testimonies enough for the juror to say, yes, since you say it's not self-defense, therefore I'm going to conclude it's not self-defense? And you know dang well the answer is no, right? It doesn't matter if I have mental health issues. Like right now, my mental health issues are not on the line. Jurors are not convening in Colton, Texas to address my mental health issues. You don't think you have mental health issues? Right? There you go. So whatever you see in me, I'm sure you see in yourself. But before you psychoanalyze me, psychoanalyze yourself. You're a white man in Colombia begging for love. You're a pastor bro in Colombia. Like that's not giving mental health issues. You have to go to a poor country to find love and some sexual motion in your life. You don't think that's a mental health issues, right? So it's like you're truly insane. And I could have mental health issues. I'm allowed to have mental health issues. America is really. Of course, I'm a narcissist. We're all over narcissists. But how much of a narcissist am I? Right? But we all have it. Everybody is slightly a narcissist. That's not a problem, Anthony. And it's also not a crime. And the jury is not going to convene in Colleen, Texas to decide whether Marlene is a damn narcissist. No, that's not the issue at hand. Stop moving the goalpost. Okay? So it's very silly. Stop clapping like seals for these high school kids. They're high school students. They've never studied the law. They know nothing about tort. They never had to pass the bar. They haven't practiced law. They haven't practiced criminal law. So it's not up to them to decide whether or not this is self defense or it's not self defense. That is completely ludicrous. And if the DA himself, if he had any integrity and if he truly had faith in his own case, right? If he truly had faith in his own case, what he would have said, number one, he would have shown the young people the actual stature, show them the law. Show the kids the law, section 931 and section 932. Then you ask the kids, based on what you read and your recollections of the event, right? Would you say that a reasonable person will have a reasonable belief to believe that they would have suffered deadly bodily harm. That's it, that's that. But to not even show the children what the law states about self defense, just, oh, let's assume they know it. Why do you assume they know it? Where on the high school curriculum do young people study toward? Where? Where on the high school curriculum do young people study self defense? You can like Columbia, that's not a problem. Nobody ever brought that up. You don't have to justify yourself to me, Anthony. You're an adult. As long as you're comfortable with your choices, right? But you're starting to justify yourself to me. You do not have to justify yourself to me. I am not your mother. I'm not your mother. I'm not your pastor. I'm not your clergy. I'm not your therapist. I'm not an authority in your life. So you don't have to justify yourself to me. Okay? You don't have to do that. It's your life. If you like your choice, you like your choices. Just stay safe out there. Just be safe. But you don't have you're starting to justify. You don't have to justify yourself to a stranger. You're an adult. You made your choice. And you know why you made your choices. And that's the point about Carmelo. Right? It's the same thing, right? You have your reason why you went to Colombia. Just like he had his reason why he felt like he had to use deadly force. The problem is that you white people have a hard time seeing black people as autonomous sentient beings capable of making their own judgment call. You don't want black people to make autonomous judgment call. You want black people to relegate to you how they get to make judgment calls. No, you don't have to explain yourself to me. I am not your jury. You made your choices. If you can live with your choices, okay, sure. If you can afford your choices, sure, right? Carmelo also, he made his choices. I mean, now he has to explain to a jury, but you know what I'm saying? You ain't got to explain yourself to me, boo boo. Okay, you're an adult. You are an adult, right? So that's my thing. Exactly. And maybe you have PTSD, right? But I'm 41. You're 58, so you're 17 years older than me. So you definitely do not need to justify yourself to me. Right? You don't have to. Yeah, I'm like, you're almost 60, so 6 decades, right? Good for you. You traveled the world, and somehow in all these travels, you have yet to lose racism. You have yet to jettison racism, right? I'm sure you've lost luggages, but you sure did lose the racism, huh? That is crazy. I told this other person, I said to the other person that, to me, because he was something about white American people, and I had to ask him the question. So when it comes to being an American, being white American, and being racist, is it like a combination deal, like a burger? So if you're white, you have to be a racist, like, but you can't really have a burger with just the buns. You can't really have a burger with just the beef patties, right? You need the beef and the buns, right? So I'm like, is that what it means to be white American? That racism and white Americanism cannot be separated. Because either way, if you separate it, it's like you have the beef, but you don't have the buns, or you have the buns, don't have the beef, right? But it's really crazy that after all these wars you've been through, right? All the wars you've been through and all the travel you've done. You're almost 60 years old, and you continue to only judge people based on the color of their skin. That is crazy. And when I tell people that you cannot rehabilitate a racist, they think I'm trying to be funny. Because at the age of you're almost 60, when will you get better? When will you get better? At what age are you actually going to go through life and give people a fair chance based on character and not on phenotype, right? Color, skin color, hair texture, nose, lips, accent, this, and that, right? This is insanity. You're 60. You're almost 60. You've been through wars. You traveled the world. And with all of that, you've never taken the time to take a good look at yourself and say, you know what? This ain't it. Right? Walking around being a white supremacist, thinking everybody else is wrong, evil, da da da. It's just not the way to be. When does that change for you? At what age does that change? At what age do you say, before I leave this earth, I need to have a genuine, not a sexual, because I'm sure you're in Colombia for sex, right? I'm sure you are in Colombia for sex. I don't think you're in Colombia also to truly, to truly, truly immerse yourself in their culture, religion, and not be a white colonizer, but actually be a student of other people and their culture and see what makes Colombia beautiful. Because I'm pretty sure you went to Colombia for sex, right? You went there for sex. Makes sense. So I'm like, at what age do you become a better human being? At what age do you become a person that honors the sanctity of life irrespective of what the person looks like. At what age do you become able of listening to both sides, irrespective of what the person looks like? At what age? Because in my book, I truly believe that a racist can never be rehabilitated. Okay. Person said, I'm 73. Skin, okay, sure. You're 73. Good for you. But if you're 73 and you're still stupid, you should kind of like just get out of here. Right. If you're 73 and you're not making the world a better place, you should find a way to exit. Okay. Yeah, of course you're married to a Colombian woman, right? Because her standards are much lower, right? And the funny thing is you married her in Colombia and you stayed in Colombia, right? Why didn't you bring her to America? That she could experience the American life because you can't afford a wife in America. Right? And you're probably living off like your VA bills and like you're probably living on like your pension stuff, right? Do you work in Colombia? Do you actually have a job in Colombia? Right? You see what I'm saying? So that's it. 10 years. So you got married at like 48. You're a late bloomer. Are you still good in bed? Is she satisfied sexually? You know what I'm saying? Do you take Viagra or something? That's crazy. I hope she doesn't cheat, right? And I hope you also give her a US passport. Okay. Mr. 73 years old. I don't even know what you're about. But I'm like, if you're really 73, I mean, I'm happy that you still have some kind of mobility. Okay, like, okay, right? But for 73, you might want to calm down. Okay, be a bit more mature. All right? Like, we're doing a little too much. But thank you for calling me sweetness. You could use the N-word. That's on brand for your type of people, right? So yeah, like they're truly like they're truly crazy. Well, you're 73. Maybe some of y'all don't you don't need to work. Okay. So you're living off your pension stuff. Okay. Interesting. So are you gonna let her are you gonna help her become a US citizen? Or she's still a Colombian citizen? Will you give her citizenship? Do your kids have citizenship? Or they're all gonna be Colombian people? Sir, Mr. 73 years old, no one even called you a racist. I said since you're 73, I'm glad you have some mobility, but you might want to calm down. No one called you a racist. I can sound anything I want. That's fine. That is the same thing with these young people, right? Oh, it's not self-defense. That's their appreciation. You sound racist. Sounding racist and being an actual racist are not the same. But when you're simple-minded, I can see why it sounds. I can see why you would think it's the same. I can sound anything you want me to sound like, right? Yeah, I can sound racist. I can sound like a bigot. I can sound like a supremacist. I can sound like many things. But what can you actually prove exactly? So I can sound like anything. You sound like, okay. What can you actually prove? Can you prove that I'm a racist? Probably not. Okay, next. So I'm like, you sound. Like, that's so crazy. Right? Y'all like to, y'all, you like to go around policing what people sound like. Why don't you actually police actual acts of wrongdoing? Hmm? You sound like. You gonna spend your time worried about what people sound like? No, focus on what's actually being done. Right? You sound. Okay. And I'm gonna stop your Sunday. Right? You sound like mommy. You sound. Okay. I sound like, okay. I sound like many things to different people. There are plenty of people on this line. Some people will say, oh, Marlene sounds just fine. To you, I sound like a racist. To another, I might sound like a bigot. To another, I might sound like an idiot. Right? Doesn't matter. It's all subjective. It's what can you prove? Can't prove shit. What you feel doesn't really matter. And that's my issue with this case is that people want this case to be about what they feel and not what they can actually prove. And that's crazy to me because it means that people, I'm not trying to be mean, but it's like you're not intelligent. My emotions, I cannot stand people who only live for vibes and feelings. Like, what do you actually know? What can you actually prove? What does the law actually state? What do the jurors have to look for? Right? What are the jurors actually going to put into their deliberation? Okay, he's acquitted or he's not acquitted. Are you capable of having an intelligent conversation? Remove your feelings. I think, you sound, I think. No one cares. Like, were you raised by a woman or something? Why are so many men so emotional like that? Okay, it triggers me. Okay. Exactly. Doug said, I don't sound racist. There you go. So I sound racist to you, but I don't sound racist to her. So it's like, that's it, that's that. It doesn't matter what I sound like. Find one person who can say Marlene was racist against me. You won't find it. You're not gonna find that person. So I can sound like whatever, doesn't matter. Right? It's the same thing. One person could say, oh, this is not self-defense to me. Another can say, oh, the way Carmelo acted is self-defense. No problem. These are still opinions. Right? And it's not, I don't think it's even, like, the more I think about it too, I have to double check, but the more I think about it, does Carmelo even have to prove he acted in self defense? No. It's up to the prosecution to disprove he acted in self defense. They have to disprove he acted in self defense. And if the prosecution's best way of disproving it is by asking a bunch of high school students who've never studied law, never studied tort, never took the bar, never passed the bar, never practiced law, but so do you think it's self defense? To me, it shows you don't have a strong case, do you? Because who puts their case against self defense in the hands of a bunch of teenagers who've never studied law? Like, I mean, this is ridiculous. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. But when you're not trying, I'm not truly not trying to be mean. Like, I promise you, I even told ChatGPT, right? I even told ChatGPT, I'm gonna try really hard to be nicer to white people. So I'm not trying to be mean. But think about this, like, right? Is it up to Carmelo to prove that he acted in self-defense? No, this is not how America works. It's the prosecution to disprove he did not act in self defense. And you should know this. You should know reasonable doubt, probable cause, right? Like, you should know this, the burden of proof. You should know these things. Are you not an American? Right? So when you go to court, is it up to the accused to prove? No. It's up to the prosecution to prove he did not act out of self-defense. Okay. It's up to them. It's not up to him. So if now their way of proving he did not act out of self-defense is by asking a bunch of teenagers who have never studied tort, who have never studied the statute, Texas Code, Penal Code 931, 932. Oh, do you think this is self-defense? That is like, so you don't have a case? You don't have a case, right? Your whole case is in the hands of teenagers. You all crazy, fam. You all crazy. Right? You don't have a text message from Carmelo the night before where he told Eddie, man, when I see this boy, I'm gonna stab his ass. Right? You don't have a text message, you don't have a phone call the night before, 20 minutes before, 30 minutes before, because one of the presumptions of first degree murder is premeditation. So where is the premeditation? Right? You're really, really silly. You are so silly. Part of first degree murder is premeditation. Like, you meant that shit. You went there to do this shit. And you probably told other people you were gonna do that shit. So when you saw Austin, yeah, you did that shit. That's it. That's first degree murder. You talked about it ahead of time, you planned it ahead of time, and when you met the man, you did that shit. Right? Do they have any text messages where Carmelo said, "Oh yeah, when I see that boy, then I'm gonna just stab his ass"? No. Okay. But now we're saying it happened right there. You have Hunter saying, "I don't even know that kid." A lot of them said, "We don't even know this kid. He's Eddie's friend." So how can you premeditate to kill people you don't even know, didn't even know you were going to meet that day? It doesn't make any sense. But now you're calling high school students and you're asking high school students whose opinion truly doesn't matter, because you want high school students to assess whether this is an act of self-defense. It is not their job. They were never trained in understanding self-defense. They're teenagers. Okay. And the kind of shit they do with it in high school does not come remotely close to studying anything about the penal code of Texas. So it doesn't matter. Now, if you had a few lawyers there that day and the lawyers saw what happened, now that's different. Oh, there were lawyers under the tent, and those lawyers say, based on the statute of Texas, they do not believe it was self defense. And here's why. That's completely different. But now hey, Harriet, right? But now we're asking, Frank, I don't even know what you're talking about. Oh, you're talking about Austin, I guess, right? Right? I mean, I don't know if we're all intelligent, but I'm definitely intelligent. Just like I don't think that you guys are all intelligent. I think you're mostly dumb. The feeling is mutual, my love. Right? There you go. But if you are the prosecution, that's the way I'm seeing it now. If you're the prosecution and the bulk of your case is, oh, I'm relying on teenagers to give their appreciation of this not being an act of self-defense, you are crazy. Because even you as a lawyer, because the DA is a lawyer, the prosecutor is a lawyer. He's a lawyer. He knows what self-defense is and what self-defense is not. He doesn't need to ask these fucking kids. Okay. But even the way he's asking the kids lets you know even he doesn't believe in his case. Because the question is not, is it an act of self defense? That's an absolute. That is not what the law is requiring. The requirement of the law, did Carmelo have a reasonable belief that he could have suffered bodily deadly harm if he didn't act the way he acted right then and there? That's the actual question, right? That's the real question he should have asked. But the fact that he don't want to ask the question because he don't want to hear the answer. So why? So when you're white, why? What are you clapping for? What are you clapping for? Right? People who can't even vote, they even pay taxes. We're supposed to trust these high schools for what self defense is and what self defense is not. It's embarrassing, truly, truly embarrassing, right? And I'm sorry. I woke up this morning. You guys, I promise you, look, I woke up this morning with so much peace. I sure did. I woke up with so much peace, and then we went out, and the sun was just so beautiful. And I said to myself, God is so good. God is so amazing because God is just too good, you guys. God is really good. And and the beautiful thing too, because when I first saw Carmelo's lawyer, yeah, I was like, what in the Jesuit is going on here? He looked like a monk, he looked like a priest living up on a rent on the mountain somewhere, drinking almond juice all day, almond milk all day, right? But yesterday, or like a few days ago, I got to look at a bit of his biography. And Mike Howard, right? His attorney, right? Before he went into private practice, he was a public defender. And you guys, I'm like, a lot of things are making sense. A lot of things are making sense. I have to give this man the credit he deserves because you don't always have to look scary to be efficient. You don't always have to be a mean person to be efficient. You don't have to be a bully to be efficient. Because think about it, right? Number one, Carmelo had a bail. What's going on here with these messages? Right? Carmelo had his bail initially set at 1 million, right? Mike Howard was able to go in there, get the bail reduced to a quarter of 1 million, and get Carmelo to go home. That's incredible. Because some lawyers will fuck up your bail, and then the pre-trial to trial, you are locked up in detention. Gotta give the man his credit. Now, if you remember also, at one point, Carmelo filed as an indigent, which then sparked the rumors that his parents, because they're black, they had taken the money from the GoFund, go, what's it called? Go, whatever. Let's say GoFundMe, right? They took the money from the GoFundMe to go buy a car, buy an Escalade, buy whatever, whatever, because they're very stupid, right? The thing was, like, a lot of people do that because, first of all, he's 17. So if he wants to declare himself an indigent, he can. Because think about it, which is what people don't understand. I think to a lot of people, especially white Americans, they think if you are convicted of a crime, the very next day you go to trial. It doesn't work like that. Even though the Sixth Amendment does guarantee a speedy trial, it doesn't work like that. You get arrested, you get charged, you try to go for bail, you get the bail, but even after that, there's still pre-trial motion. There's a lot of pre-trial stuff that goes on before you actually go to trial. So a lot of people, what they do, they try to be smart with their money. Because if you start spending too much money ahead of time, right, you might run out of money before the trial actually starts. So the strategy with Carmelo was declare him an indigent because he's 17 years old. That way he gets to use public resources because per the law, if you cannot afford one, you are allowed a public defender. Use the public defender to sort out all the pre-trial stuff. Right. And the thing about public defenders is that many times they get a bad rep because people think, oh, if you have a public defender, you automatically have the worst kind of legal counsel. They're failures. They're like, you know what I'm saying? It's the dumbest people ever. Actually, not. Because compared to a private practice lawyer, right? One thing about a public defender, they have a lot of experience because they have way more volume. And how do you become good at anything? be it sports, music, career, you name it, practice. So even if, let's assume you're so dumb, like you're the dumbest lawyer, you barely made it out of law school, you barely passed the bar, but if you are able to become a public defender, you have so many cases. How are you not going to get stronger? Right? Think about your boy Chef Curry, Stephon Curry. Okay, think about Chef Curry with the sauce. Why is Stephon Curry so good with them three, their free the threes? Right? Because he practices like crazy. Stephon is known for locking himself up in there for like 8 hours a day, just throwing threes back to back to back to back to back. Right? Repetition makes you stronger. Repetition makes you so much better. You understand? So, hey, Lala. So, when you start looking at Mike Howard, even last night, I was like, man, I owe this man an apology. Go ahead, white boy. Okay. I owe this man an apology. Right? Because so far, y'all, he's been giving us some touchdowns. Right? He's quiet, but he's effective, right? Because Carmelo could have been. I mean, you do you remember how angry the white mob was out here? Okay, they were so fucking angry, but he was still able to go in there, got the boy out. Now I think the bail was still too high, but whatever. He made it happen. A reduction of $750,000. Carmelo was able to be released on bond, wear an ankle monitor, and then he had to go check in every Wednesday, right? So from last April until now, you have not heard of any bond violation. Beautiful. Number two, he told Carmelo to register as an indigent so that his pretrial stuff would be covered by a public defender because he himself used to be a public defender. So he understands the system. By law, you are entitled to a public defender. So why not use the public defender now? Do all your pre-trial stuff, right? Because then you let the taxpayer pay for it. Okay. And then when the trial starts, I'll take over from the public defender. Beautiful. Beautiful. When the trial started too, y'all. When the trial started, the first week, that's why I'm telling you, white people are silly. White people are so silly. The first week, what's happening the first week? The prosecution goes first. And the beautiful thing about that, right, is that once these people make the statements on the stand, they can't take it back. Understand? You know, you guys, the older you get, you like, I swear, God is too smart. No, like, God is not just smart, God is just amazing. There's a passage in the Bible that says, when somebody drags you to court, let them. Because it's better to be dragged as a defendant than to go to court as an accuser. Let them accuse you because then you know, oh, what are you saying again? And then you defend yourself accordingly. But if you run in there and you run your mouth, then they can use your words against you. I'm like, God is too smart. God's too smart. All these young people who came in there, right? All these young people who came in there and said this, and that. Once you say it, understand, you can't take it back. Because right now, nobody really knows what Mike Howard plans to do next week. They have no idea. But the thing is, it's a beautiful thing that it starts off with the prosecution, right? And the most the prosecution did was to relegate, yes, the meaning or the appreciation of self-defense to some teenagers. Like, think about that for a second. And then you're gonna start laughing. Think about their case is built on teenagers saying whether or not Carmelo acted in self-defense. Think about that. Do you know how much this trial is costing the people of Texas? Do you know how much money this trial is costing Colleen? I'm like, the way people in America don't care about their taxes is really concerning. But whatever, they'd rather be racist than be fiducial with their money. It's cool, but think about it, right? This man put a first degree murder charge on Carmelo, a first degree murder charge, which says premeditation, and he had yet to show premeditation. But this week was pretty much his week to go hard. He didn't go hard. All he did was fart in court. Okay. All he did was fart in court. Because what does first degree murder charge mean? Premeditation. You plan to do that shit. Okay. You didn't have to use deadly force. And let's even assume let's assume that the prosecution is correct. That Carmelo didn't have to use deadly force. Okay. Then what force should he have used? What's the alternative? Right? Has the prosecution told the jury this is what he should have done instead? This could have been the alternative. I would love to hear it, right? But they're so happy because he called a bunch of teenagers, and this is what they do. If you follow the Young Thug trial, right? If you saw it when Young Thug, when Jeffries was in the courthouse in Atlanta, right? Uh, Doug, when I tell you, it let people go first. Like, do you remember? I don't know if you guys grew up watching boxing. I didn't watch boxing for real, but a little bit, a little bit, a little bit, right? But one thing about Muhammad Ali was not necessarily the best fighter. Like when you think of like Sugar Ray Leonard, even George Foreman. George Foreman ain't nothing to play with. Like, don't get it twisted. George Foreman, he's not what you want. Sugar Ray Leonard, he ain't what the fuck you want. Like, there are certain people that what the fuck you want. But think about Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali is not the, I don't even think he's the best fighter like that. I do not think so. But he wears you down. You see, he had a strategy like a fucking hyena. Muhammad Ali, he gonna mentally wear you down. And then by the time you meet his ass, you want to beat him up so bad. You spend all this energy, then you get tired, right? Like when him and George Foreman fought in Congo, is it really because he was the best fighter? No, he was just letting George Foreman beat the shit out of him because he had talked so much shit. You ugly, you so ugly, your mama ugly. This dude is crazy. He like, oh, I'm pretty. What's it called? Sting like a bee, move like a butterfly. Like he used to, man, this man would talk so much shit. He'd be like, you little fucker, when I find your ass, right? And then so, but when you get so mad like that, you forget to be a technical boxer and you start fighting. Because it's one thing to be a boxer. Like when you think about a boxer, you are a technical fighter, right? Every punch, it gotta mean something because it's energy. You have like 12 rounds or 14 rounds of this shit. You need to pace yourself. But think about Muhammad Ali, he will cuss you out, talk about your mom, talk about your kids, tell you how ugly you are. Oh, you so ugly, you ain't got no alibi. I mean, he will talk so much shit. It's like by the time you see this man and the referee says, okay, time to fight. Oh no. Pa, 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 pa. But I'm like, he let George Foreman just ram into his ass. He just took the blows. And then George Foreman got really tired. Okay. Yes, you just hold it. They gonna punch the shit out your ass, and it fucking sucks. But it's energy conservation because he's going to wear himself out. And anybody who studied Muhammad Ali, that's how he fight. That's why he talking mad shit. He's a shit talker because when you get in the ring, he doesn't want you to be technical. He wants you to be angry. You understand? A lot of the stuff these white people have done, they wanted Carmelo to be triggered. I commend this young man. He's very stoic. He gonna go places in life. He gonna go places in life. Even his attorney Mike. Mike is also very, I'm trying to see I'm seeing the giant in that small man. I didn't like his response initially, but I'm seeing it now. Right. But the first week is all about the prosecution. Then you take a step back and you ask yourself, what exactly did this man prove? Nothing. That's why they had to show videos of Austin dying. They had to show videos of a Hunter in blood. It's all emotional. And we get it. Austin dying is sad. Hunter having blood on him. That mean people, it's an 18-year-old who's dead. Like we don't have to relive this. It is really, really sad. But the courthouse is not a funeral service. We're not here to eulogize Austin in the courthouse. You are here to prove that Carmelo did not act in self-defense. And he has not done that. Everything has been emotional, emotional, emotional. And what they do is they bring a volume of witness because in your mind, it's a psychological trick, is that they want you to believe, oh, but if so many people said it, it must be true. No, it's the same thing with bond. When they set the bond at a very high price, like that, a very high dollar amount, right? It's to also make the public feel like, oh shit, this must be serious. He must have done it. Because why would bail be at 1 million? Why would bail be at 1 million? There are certain goofy ass tactics like that that the DA's office is using to make the public feel like you are a danger, you are a threat, you're unsafe, because they know psychologically these things send out cues to people. Because if you're not evil, why is your bail at 1 million? Right? If you didn't really do it, why are all these people saying it? Because they know that a lot of people, they low IQ. A volume, you can have 20, we can have 100 witnesses. 100 people can take the stand and say, Carmelo did not act in self-defense. Carmelo did not act in self-defense. Carmelo, okay, sure. No problem. Thank you. We get it. By the time we get to witness 99, okay, what? Carmelo did not act in self defense. Thank you. Witness 100. Oh, Carmelo did not act in self defense. No problem. So now you have shown the volume of 100 people saying that Carmelo did not act in self defense. But per the law itself, does it matter? The answer is no. The authority of your witnesses, you got 100 people from high school to say Carmelo did not act in self defense. What weight does that truly hold? Because now we have to say, are high school students lawyers, right? Are high school students even studying the law? Do high school students ever get to study the Penal Code of Texas, right? Do high school students truly understand the definition of the state of Texas as it pertains to self defense? The answer is no. So, what they think of self defense, not self defense, it doesn't matter because they themselves are not even informed on what the law is. So, it doesn't matter. It's just volume. It's a trick. It's a psychological trick, right? Because what the law does not say, do high school students think? Does another person think? No. The law doesn't even say you have to have an absolute belief that you are facing deadly bodily injury. It doesn't say absolute. These words are powerful. And even and like things like that operate the and or. If you remember carefully, right, when the state of Colorado took Trump to the Supreme Court because they wanted Trump removed from the ballot, right? You guys, when I tell you, it came down to elected versus appointed because some people are elected and some people are appointed. Yeah, because I watched a bit of it at the Supreme Court. It was all about elected versus appointed. I'm like, what the freak? And I'm like, it's little things like that. They matter. If the law had said absolute belief, Carmelo would be in trouble because what absolute is like, you know what? But it says reasonable. So now you see that the reasonable stuff, it kind of moves. It's not consistent, right? Because people are like environments are different, conditions are different. And in this case, we have a different size, different weight. We have different positions of football. We have people trained in martial arts. We have the rain. We have the concrete steps. We have the metal bleachers. Like we're not on flat terrain. We are on steps with all this bullshit. Okay, with lots of people. So that's why the reasonable thing is shift. It's not hard. It's not something that remains consistent for all people of Texas. It's at that moment, at that very moment, when you use deadly force, did you have a reasonable belief that you were facing imminent deadly bodily harm? That is the law, right? At that moment, because the spirit of the thing is, why did you use it, right? Let's say it was a commercial. Oh, I had to stab him. Okay, why? Is the why reasonable? And nowhere in this past week of all this bullshit that the DA's been doing has he really attacked the why. He's attacking the appearance of it. And it's not about the appearance. Because to a lot of people, it might not, to a lot of people, deadly force might not seem justified because that's from their vantage point. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people who comment online, including the white racists, right? From their personal vantage point, then the deadly force was not necessary. But the law does not care about that. The law is asking Carmelo, the moment you picked up that knife and you pointed that knife towards Hunter's chest, why did you feel like you had to do that? Then, based on what Carmelo says, the jury will say it was reasonable or it was not reasonable. That's it. It has nothing to do with what other people think, high school people think, the of like I don't know, an army of witnesses think. It doesn't matter, especially an army of witnesses where none of them are lawyers. None of them are lawyers. None of them are even law school students. None of them even know the penal code. None of them have ever studied tort. It doesn't fucking matter what they think. They're not. We're not even here for what they think. We are here for to see who is the aggressor. The real purpose, I'm going to tell you this is the way I see it. The real purpose of these witnesses is to truly determine who the aggressor was. It is not for them to tell us their personal opinion or stance on self defense. Who could care less? You're not a fucking lawyer. Shut up. What we really care about is who would you say was the aggressor and why? So if you say Carmelo was the aggressor, why? If you say Austin was the aggressor, then why? Because once we realize that Austin is the aggressor, then Carmelo go ahead. That's it. It's really not that hard. but they're trying as hard as they can to obfuscate the truth. It's like it's really silly. Who was the reason why we have the young people from Memorial High School and even Centennial High School is to determine who was the aggressor. So their testimony is going to help to understand who the aggressor was. But here's the caveat. The moment even one student from Memorial High School tells you it was actually Eddie who told Carmelo to come. You see, because the way the whites will have it, the way the racist whites will have it, Carmelo just walked there. He just wants to, he just roams, he just goes under people's tent to just bother people, right? And this is what the whites want to believe, even though there's a police report. It's in the police report that there is a student. That's how it went. There was a student from Memorial High School who told the police Carmelo had a friend that goes to Memorial High School on the track team, and that friend can help to identify Carmelo. And in the police report, his name is EP. Right? The whites who love to insult people, being DEIs, being low IQ, but the whites themselves obviously didn't read because white people don't like to read. They're just as illiterate as the people they're accused of being illiterate. They're just as dumb as the people they accuse of being dumb. They're just as low IQ as the people they accuse of being low IQ. You have the police reports. Why don't you read the police reports? Because the moment you understand, and the young man, even that guy Robert Esquivel, whatever his name is, right? He read a testimony yesterday where the young man said, the young man, I'm sure he's white, the young white man from Memorial High School said it was Eddie who told Carmelo to come over. You see, so the moment you have a student from Memorial High School telling Carmelo, "Hey, come over here. What's up, Fred? Come up here in my tent real quick," right? That he was invited. He's not on some trespassing stuff. He's not there to bother people. But this is the part that the whites are intentionally trying to bury because Carmelo needs to be seen as a crazy vagrant who went to a track meet to stab white people for the sins of slavery. Like they are these basic ass white people are so committed to their grift that they're the martyrs of black people in America. Nobody will ever believe that. Carmelo was invited over by Eddie. So he goes over there because Eddie called them over there. Like it's not that hard. But when you're a racist, it's really hard. It's hard for a racist. But when you're not a racist, it's not that hard. When you have a high, not even high IQ, a decent IQ, it's not that hard. Oh, another guy called them over there because that was his friend. So he went over there to see him. That's it. He didn't go there to bother people. But what I think happened was this is my personal thing. This is what I think happened, right? Because remember, it was raining. And because it was raining, the race was postponed because they were waiting for the rain to subside, right? So I think once the people were informed, like everybody was informed, like, hey, we're not going to run now, probably like a 30-minute, 45-minute delay. I think people started dispersing. And that's why I think that Austin and Hunter and their friends, they went behind to the middle school side. Okay. Because if you look at the stadium, if you read the police report, right? If you read the police report correctly, if you read the police report carefully, right? Where the Memorial High School tent was, is the visitor side. So if that's the visitor side. Where is the home side? Well, the home side is where the cameras are located. And behind the home side is where you have the middle school. Okay? Because if you remember from the witness list, I mean, people who saw the video, Austin and Hunter are walking towards the visitor side. They weren't even there themselves. They were not there at first. And what I think happened was when they were told that the race would be delayed, that Hunter, Austin, and their friends, they left a bit. They probably left to go hang out somewhere. But where they left to go hang out was behind the home side towards the middle school. And what happened was another student probably saw Carmelo there and thought, oh, maybe Carmelo is doing something he shouldn't be doing, right? Even though he came there to see Eddie. But it's very possible that the other kid didn't know. And what the other kid should have done was walked up to Carmelo and said, hey, what's up? Right? But instead, he texted Austin or he texted Hunter. So that's why the lady, the Daisy lady who watched the videos, oh, they were on a mission, right? I don't even think those kids meant to hurt Carmelo per se. Like, we're about to go beat his ass because that's Carmelo. I think they were probably told that there's someone under our tent and he might be up to no good. So that's why you see them in the video. coming like they're about to beat somebody up. Because it's also very possible. It is also very possible that Hunter and Austin also that day did not mean to be bad people. But the way they were texted, it seemed like there's somebody who should not be there that's about to do some bullshit. And because he's black, they thought the worst. This is where racism and bigotry gonna get you, right? And that's why she said when she saw them, they were standing over him. What Eddie should have done. Because now the more I think about it, the more I blame Eddie. Because Eddie should have said, I'm the one who invited him over here. But the fact that Eddie understand does not want to properly explain what happens lets you know they're hiding something. Because if Eddie says to Austin or Hunter, no, I'm the one who asked them to come here, right? It's very possible that they would have calmed down. If Eddie doesn't say anything and they continue to believe that Carmelo's the trespasser, well, Eddie is to blame because you asked him to come here. They're thinking he's here for no good reason. Why don't you say, hey, that's my friend? Something is off. Something is seriously off. And that's why I look at Eddie sideways, and I understand why he's crying on the sand, because he's really stuck. Because he told Carmelo to come, and then when Hunter and Austin showed up, he don't want to stand up for people, and all of that led to what this led to whatever we are right now, right? But it's very possible. It's truly, really. The more I think about it, y'all, it is very possible that Hunter and Austin did not come there like, oh, we're gonna go grab. No, but they've most likely received a text, and the way that text was worded, they were late. Like, the fuck you mean? Who the fuck is that? No, let's go get this motherfucker. Right? It's very possible because they all do not know each other. The only people who know each other are Carmelo and Eddie. And the fact that Eddie doesn't want to speak the truth is extremely problematic. Because if the truth don't come out of you, Eddie, you are stopping a lot of people from having proper closure and proper healing. And the person who texted Austin and Hunter needs to also say, you know what? I'm the one who sent the text message. And the way I sent that text message, the boys were lit. So when they showed up, they were about that energy. They were truly about that energy. So you have to also see Carmelo, if he's sitting there minding his business, and then some kids pull up on him with this weird energy, he's like, what the fuck is wrong with these people? Right? There are people who instigated this fight. It's giving Republicans versus like Democrat. That makes sense because like I'm really starting to get it. I'm not, yeah, I was like, because I couldn't sleep last night, but I'm truly starting to get it because the way, you know how sometimes people can come back and tell you something, and that something can have you so lit you want to fight somebody. Makes sense because imagine if you're, because I'm sure they left their stuff there. I'm starting to get it. I am truly starting to get it. It's very possible because everybody's told, okay, we're not going to run for the next 30 minutes, 45 minutes. Well, it's raining. We're not going to sit here in the rain. So I can see why they left. I'm about to stand here. But it's also very possible that they left their stuff there, right? They left our stuff there. So when whoever texted them said, hey, there's this kid under our tent. I don't know who the fuck he is. He's from Centennial High School, but hey, he black. He might be a thief. You know, a lot of white people think that every black person is a thief. So you have to understand in their head, because they probably consume a lot of what's it called? Toxic content about black people, YN, this, they think all black people are bad people. So that's why the girl Daisy, when she said the way they looked like they were walking, they looked like they were on a mission because somebody texted them and said, "There's this black kid here. I don't know what this fuck. I don't know what the fuck he's up to." And they could have even used the N word. What the fuck do I know, right? So when they get there, they mad. Okay. Now, when it comes to Carmelo, he's like, you got to think about his also his where he is in his mind. My friend invited me over here. We're having a peaceful conversation. Y'all pulling up on me, talk about, oh, you gotta go, you gotta go. For what? But both people have asymmetry because Austin, he got a text message from somebody who wrote something crazy when the person could have simply said, hey, you know what? Why are you under our tent? Oh, Eddie, that's your friend. Okay, just make sure he, you know what I'm saying? Okay, cool, no problem, right? That's it, that's that. Eddie could have said, oh, you know what? Hey, Hunter, Austin, this is Carmelo. He's my friend. I know him through his girlfriend, so he's good. He's not going to take anything. You see what I'm saying? This thing could have been sorted out. But I'm like, I see it both ways. I truly see where Austin is coming from, Hunter coming from, and I truly see also where Carmelo's coming from. And the problem is the outsiders who pin them against each other. Do you get me? Right? It's like I'm like, just think about this. If Austin and Hunter were there, when Eddie called over Carmelo and they had saw Eddie and Carmelo embrace each other, they wouldn't have had a problem with Carmelo. They didn't see it because they were not there. They didn't see it. So for them, it's a random kid under their tent, right? Whereas if they had been there and they had seen Eddie call over Carmelo and they saw them dap it up, they wouldn't have had an issue with Carmelo because they would have seen it. They were not there. They were not there. They came because somebody told them. And that's why you see them walking behind the home side because they're coming from the middle school side, crossing over the stadium, going towards the visitor side. It makes perfect sense. But Eddie and the person who sent that text message, they really, I kind of blame them because you pin these people against each other. And that's the same thing the media does. They like if you go on Fox News, all black people are bad, all Democrats are bad. You go over there to the CNN news, all Republicans are bad. Everybody who supports Trump is bad. You see, and when people have this asymmetry of information, when they actually meet in the street, they want to fight. Because all I ever heard about you was bad shit. All you ever heard about me was bad shit. So the day we actually meet, man, fuck this shit. You see? And that's why people got to be very careful spreading rumors and shit like that. Be very careful. But I'm like, this is what happened. But if they had been introduced properly, I don't think anything would have gone this far. I'm like, it really broke in my brain yesterday. I'm like, ah. And that's why Eddie doing the bullshit he doing. Because why didn't you tell Hunter and Austin that you are the one who called Carmelo over? I would have calmed them down. You know what I'm saying? I don't think they knew each other. I really don't think. Maybe they bumped into each other before. I don't know. But from what it's giving right now, they're saying it's Eddie. Even the other guys from their school said it was Eddie who called Carmelo over there. Eddie called him over there. But somehow when Austin and Hunter are asking him to leave, Eddie is like he just disappears. Why do you disappear out the story? Where are you, Eddie? Right? Where are you? And I'm like, and this is what, to me personally, this is what the prosecution hasn't done a good job of explaining, right? They haven't truly explained to people. Number one, if Carmelo shouldn't have used deadly force, what should he have used? What should he have used instead? Tell me. Because what is your alternative? Right? Beyond reasonable doubt. Okay, so what else could he have used? Okay, right? Carmelo, oh, the kids think it was not self defense. It doesn't matter what they think. How have you shown that a reasonable person wouldn't have feared for their life at that very moment? The prosecution has yet to show that. Show the jurors why he shouldn't have had why he shouldn't have had, or let me also say this, right? Show the jurors how his fear, his so-called fear, or so what is reasonable belief, right, was actually unreasonable. How was he unreasonable in his belief that he was facing deadly bodily injury? You haven't shown that. All they did was pretty much do like a funeral 2.0 in the courthouse. And I'm like, yeah, that's not gonna work. That's not going to work. So if people are clapping for the prosecution for asking a bunch of teenagers if they think this was self-defense, that is actually embarrassing. It is so embarrassing. It's truly embarrassing. It does not matter what these teenagers think about self-defense. They never study law. They have never studied tort. They don't know shit about no damn self-defense law. No one cares. No one truly cares. What we want these teenagers to help us understand is who do you think was the aggressor and why? Okay. So if you think Austin was not the aggressor, why? Why would you say he was the aggressor? And then you see it in their language, right? Oh, it wasn't a big push, it was a minor push. Some people say it was a shove. Some people said it was a nudge because they're trying to lessen the severity of the contact, the physical contact. They want to make it seem like, oh, it wasn't nothing that serious. It was nothing that serious that required pulling out a knife, right? Because Austin is their friend. And also, you have to understand like the social pressure. Also, if you're the one who truly says what Austin really did, what are the social consequences for being the one to actually say what Austin truly did? So, everyone wants to mitigate how hard Austin pushed them, even if Austin had him in a headlock, right? There are a lot of things they don't want to say because the goal is to paint Carmelo as the aggressor. And I mean, it's not fine, but it's understandable, right? Y'all go to the same school. You still want to be friends. You don't want to be seen as a snitch, right? There are social ramifications for being the one that speak the actual truth, right? say, well, you can tell whatever you want. You might be the one to go to prison for life. Be careful what you wish on other people. That might be your portion, right? That's it. That's that. But I'm like, what has the prosecution truly proved? And what they have proved is that Austin is the one who put his hands on Carmelo. Austin is the one who removed the bag from Carmelo's body, right? It's Austin who made things physical. Austin made those things physical. Every witness that they brought up is saying, yeah, Austin is pushing, shoving, nudging, wumpty wump wump, grabbing book bags, and this, and that. So thank you very much. But that's fine. That's not a problem. So you're not a retard, right? You're probably a product of incest. Your mom probably had sex with her brother, right? You're so smart, right? You are just so smart. Yeah, there you go. I'm not a retard. Yeah, of course, no problem. Whatever you say, boo boo, whatever you say, right? But you have to really ask yourself, right? What has the prosecution really proved? And what they prove is what? Let me show all your messages. I'm gonna post them up. You know, well, no problem, boo boo. I hope you feel better. Okay. Yeah, type all your messages. Hope you feel better. Okay. Makes sense. So you have to ask yourself this first week, and it was the prosecution's grand week, right? What have they truly proved? What do they still need to prove? Right? Because I'm like, people love I mean, go ahead and clap. It doesn't bother me. Clap early if you want to, though. Right? Exactly. Think about it. And what they prove is that Austin is the one who made it physical. Because everybody is, they're all saying it. He pushed, he shoved, he nudged, he grabbed, he whomped. Listen to the language, all the witnesses. And if you want, like maybe when I come back, because I got a little bit, but maybe when I come back later, we can take yeah, exactly. Like that's why I'm like that's why you have you know, and this is why when you insult people, you insult even Charlie Kirk, right? Look at how Charlie Kirk died. Not to be mean. I am truly not trying to be mean. I told ChatGPT I was truly gonna be nice to white people this week, and I promised that, right? But look at Charlie Kirk, you guys. He spent his entire career talking about black people are violent. Black people are only 13% of the population that commit most of the homicide. Black people are DEI. If you ever see a black pilot, you have to disembark the plane. Black people this, black people that, right? But that was truly part of his like his brand that he was the one exposing the violence that just plagues the black community. Right. Then he talked about what's his name, George Floyd. Right. He kept making fun of his neck. He kept talking about the neck, the neck, the neck, the neck, the neck, the neck. Right. Okay, but you got to go time out a little bit. Okay. Thank you. Right. Thank you for stopping by. Right. But look at Charlie Kirk. What ended up happening to Charlie Kirk? He got killed by his own people. Right. He got killed by another white person. Right. Makes sense. He got killed by a white person. He made so much fun of George Floyd's neck. Where did he get shot? He also got shot in the neck. You see, like when people say the mouth is a powerful weapon, when the Bible tells you that the power of life or death or the tip of your tongue, you need to be very careful. But you see, a lot of white people, it's not even just low IQ, whatever, duh, but it's like they truly do not have a relationship with the Most High. Because when you have a relationship with God, you're very careful what you speak over yourself and what you speak over other people's lives. Because the Bible is clear to say, do not bear false witness something you haven't seen. What business do you have, not even just judging, but condemning a person and cursing their life? Oh, Carmelo is going to go to life, going to go to prison for life, right? Where do you come up saying things like that? And because it's such a dark people, it's such a godless people, it's such a people without a covenant, they don't see the issue in saying that, right? But if the young man is innocent and you speak like that over his life, do you not understand that you spoke that over your life, right? Words are powerful. But everything Charlie Kirk said, it happened to him. There's even a video where Charlie said, oh, in order to protect the Second Amendment, it's okay that some people once a year die from gun violence. Do y'all remember that? Right? Like he was on a panel and the people asked him, like, okay, all like they asked him about like Uvalde, Sandy Spring, or Sandy Hooks, right? They were asking him about all these schools that got shot, like the people got shot in school. And then Charlie said, well, that's the price to pay if we want to protect the Second Amendment. because he said that a few people have to die from gun violence in order to protect the Second Amendment. So he says that. How was he killed? A gun. He made fun of George Floyd and his neck. Where was he shot? His neck. And you see the video, he goes like this. He's holding on to his neck, right? He kept talking about black people are violent. Black people are violent. He went to Utah, the most white place in America. And that's why they felt comfortable doing it outside. Oh, it's all white people, I'm super safe. Utah is super white. The mountains are full of snow. I mean, it's white, white. It's white snow and white people everywhere. So imagine how arrogant he felt in a sea of white people. And what they would call one of the safest state, one of the safest cities in America, full of white people, surrounded by white people. Charlie Kirk got slaughtered by a white person. Like it's so insane. And even and with all of that, they still do not learn to be very careful with this thing called the mouth. Be very careful. Be extremely careful. No, they play fast and loose with their mouths. They say all kinds of crazy things about people because it's a people who truly has been like they've been kept blind from some serious, like serious deep spiritual matters. Like the Charlie Kirk thing, it scared me. And the last thing I'm gonna say about Charlie Kirk, him and George Floyd have the same birthday. Him and oh my gosh, oh my gosh, this thing is so scary. Him and George Floyd were born on the same day. I even had to run to Gemini to be like, do you think that Charlie Kirk and George Floyd are twin flames? you know because many times twin flames, they have this like adversarial relationship once they take a human form. It is the craziest thing. I'm like, are you guys twin flames? And it kind of gave that. It kind of gave that. They're born on the same day. They're both Libra. I think it's October 14th. They're both born October 14th. They both got you know deleted in the neck. Okay. Right? I mean, it's insane. I'm like, you kept making fun of this man. You kept making fun of this man the whole time. He's your birthday twin. You made fun of this man, made fun of this man, his neck. Charlie used to love making fun of that man's neck. And the way, and the like, you know what I'm saying? The location of where they chose to shoot your ass was in your neck as well. So when you watch the video, when it happens, he goes like this, he grabs his neck. I said, oh my God. And this is why I repeat, you have to be very careful the things that come out your mouth. People love to be like, especially with social media. People allow themselves to just say whatever, speak whatever. They say things about people they don't know. They speak harm on people they've never met. They speak evil on people they never met. You are speaking that over yourself. The Bible also says a curse without merits will go right back to its sender. And that's why when white people tell me they read the Bible, I don't believe them. I do not believe them. The Bible even says to twist your tongue 7 times before you open your mouth. Just to say, yeah, just shut up. You don't even have to, don't say it. Okay, just keep your mouth shut. Right? But it clearly said that a curse without merit will go right back to sender. Every curse doesn't lend because when you speak a curse of someone, you need to have you need to have the claims, like you need to have the right to make that curse. You can't just be cursing people. Just saying. And what you wish unto another person that did nothing to you, just because you don't like him, it's gonna come right back on you. And that's why they have this other saying that goes, when you dig a grave for someone, dig a grave for yourself right next to them. Because in the process of dragging someone down, you will drag yourself down with that person. Like nothing good comes to people when they go out their way to seek human revenge. It's not gonna work. Not gonna work. But everything Charlie Kirk said is exactly how he died. The people he mocked, that's how he died. The locations of deadly injuries that he mocked is how he was also deadly injured. This is not a joke. And that's why I always feel so much, I feel a lot of pity for people who are not made aware of, like, I guess God's laws, nature's laws, karma law, I don't know. But you have to be very careful what you wish in other people. And that's why before you say, oh, this one is guilty, he needs to die in prison. This one is this. Be careful. Because do you have all the facts? Like even me, this case with Carmelo, I didn't just, oh, because he's black. No, it sounded so crazy. I had to look into it. Because how can somebody ask you to move from a seat and then you just stab someone in the heart? It sounded so insane that even I had to go look into it. Come on, who is this person? Okay. But it's like the more you start looking into it, I'm like, but this is not what they're saying. At first, I didn't even know about the whole EP stuff. I realized that it was raining. So I said to myself, oh, maybe he went there because it was raining, so he was seeking shelter. But when you read the police report, it tells you, no, he had a friend that went to that school. So I'm like, okay, not only was it raining, but he also had a friend that went there. So he's not some vagrant who's going from locker to locker to sorry, from 10 to 10, trying to harass people or property or damage their property. No, you have the rain component, but you also have an explicit request from Eddie for Carmelo to come to his tent, which is a memorial tent. Okay, that kind of gives context, right? But this matter here with Carmelo is that the white people are completely refusing to give it context because Carmelo must be seen as some deranged black teen, uncontrolled black teen, because initially they wanted to say that he came from a broken home. Okay. The main, like I remember the first few hours, oh, he must be from a broken home. He must not have a father in the home. As if most white kids have a father in the home, right? Even when white kids have a father in the home, many times it's their stepdad, their second stepdad, their third stepdad, their fourth stepdad. Somebody can go ask JD Vance. Okay, JD Vance had over like three stepdads, right? But many white children do not have a parent in the home. Many white women also are raising kids by themselves. And lo and behold, it was Austin and Hunter who did not have a father in the home because the mom and dad, if I'm not mistaken, divorced when they were 3 years old, right? And it seems like she has primary custody. So for Jeff to even have a GoFundMe and to raise most of the money when he has not had primary custody of them since they were three is egregious. But even that too, the whites chose to overlook that. Because if you're going to raise the money, it should go to the parent that has them full time, that has had them full time since they were three, and that actually raises them every day. Jeff is a weekend father. He's not a full time father. But out of their hatred for Carmelo, they went and gave 900,000 to a deadbeat father. And we're gonna find out if he even gave the woman some money. But when she had her own GoFundMe, she only raised 100,000, 140,000, right? And these whites and their low IQ asses found nothing wrong with that. Why does one family have two GoFundMe accounts? And why does the father, who does not have does not have physical custody, primary custody, right, since they were 3 years old, why do y'all give him most of the money? Because he was the one crying on TV. He was the one talking about he's a Christian on TV. He was the one talking about Jesus on TV, right? And since white people love to be performers of Christianity, performers of righteousness, performers, right? Instead of saying, like, okay, like you talk a good game, but who has been the full time parent? It's the mother. It's the mother. But their hatred for Carmelo made it so they gave money to a deadbeat father. And if you think they're going to admit that to themselves, oh, they never will. They hate the fact that all they do is be low vibrational and race downward. They're not smart. That's why they love to question other people's intellect because they want to make sure they're not the only idiots in America. I think you are. They're true. He's truly, yeah, and he broke his arm. They're really broke. I'm like, he's not the active father. They live with their mom. They have lived with their mom since they were 3 years old. She's the full-time parent. She is the primary custodian. So why not give her the money? No, she raised 147,000. Jeff Metcalf, who is a weekend father, a summer daddy, a deadbeat daddy, he raised like 900,000. And they see nothing wrong with that because the goal is to hurt Carmelo. I'm like, you're only hurting yourself. You are truly hurting yourself, right? You're hurting yourself. Doesn't work. Like you're very, very silly. They're truly silly. And they refuse to learn from Charlie Kirk's behavior and Charlie Kirk's demise. Even Alex, what's his name? Alex Jones, the one who always peddles all these conspiracies, right? You see, Alex Jones also, all his foolishness and his conspiracy theories, making fun of kids who get shot in school. He lost everything. He got sued, and then they put $1 billion judgment against him. There are consequences for running your mouth without actually having the facts. There are consequences. Even Candace Owens, always running her mouth, running her mouth. She's always getting sued. I'm like, but this is not sustainable. She's like, oh yeah, the lawsuit with the first lady or the first husband of France, right? $5 million legal fees. Then she got sued by the man from Turning Point USA. Then she got sued by this man. I mean, like, yo, it is not sustainable. At this rate, you're just working to pay your lawyers. Why don't you just mind your mouth? Right? You have to mind your mouth. Mind your mouth. And don't be so quick to speak. It's okay. It's truly okay to be upset because the way you read it, it sounded crazy. But at some point, you have to realize that in America, this is what the media does. The media truncates these stories to make them salacious, tribalized, polarizing, racialized, and stuff. You have to resist the urge to do what the media wants you to do. Think highly of yourself to not behave like a beast. I heard this. It sounds crazy. I'm really hurt. I wish Austin wouldn't have died. But I'm going to wait until we go to court so I can know exactly what happened because this is crazy. It does, and it takes nothing away from you and Austin. You can still be a supporter of Austin, but wait until you go to court so that you can know more. There's so much stuff you don't know. Even the media people, there is so much they don't know because they're not the attorneys on the case, right? So why do you allow people to make you so angry like that? That's just crazy to me. That's really crazy, right? But be very careful. I mean, you don't have to listen to me, but I would tell you this though: learn from Charlie Kirk because if all this negativity was so healthy, it was so amazing, it brought blessings and favor. Then why is he dead? 31 years old, dead. And Erica Kirk took over his business. Andrew Kirk took over his business. All kinds of people took over his business. And very soon, his kids will have a stepdad. And Eric will be having sex with a man in his house in front of his kids. Was it worth it? You put so much hatred to the ether. You put so much animosity into the ether. It's going to come right back at you. Hate is an energy. It's not a good one. It's very destructive. And it feels really good when you put it out there. But what about the day when it all comes back to you? Because one day it's all going to come back to you. And that's why a wise person says, even though I don't like you, I am still going to wish the best for you. Because when it comes to me and my karma, I want to have like a steady kill karma. Be careful what you put out there against other people because it will all come back to you. And that's why a wise person, you wish the best to everybody. Friends, foes, enemies. Why would you even have enemies if you're wise? Don't have enemies, right? But you wish the best for all people. It's a very sad situation all around. But something being sad does not mean that Austin did not do something that led to his early demise. And I wish Eddie would have stood up. Whoever texted them, I wish they probably even sent the text because they should have verified that themselves. Because instead of texting Austin like he's an enforcer, why didn't you go get the police? You put Austin in some bullshit because it's not Austin's job to be a police officer. It's not Austin's job to be an enforcer. And just because he's big doesn't mean he's here to fight for you fuckers. Fight for your own shit. Stand up for yourself. Because I feel bad for Austin too because I think because he's such a big person, every time these fools get in trouble, go call Austin. Go call Austin. Austin is not your fucking crash out dummy, you idiots. Okay? If you think there's somebody under the tent that shouldn't be there, you should call the coach. You should call the police. Why are you calling Austin? He's not you people's bodyguards, you fucking idiot. He might not look like he's 17, but he's also 17. It's fucking evil. You kind of I do feel bad for him. Always having to be the man. No, y'all need to learn to stand up for yourselves. If you don't want him, you go get a freaking coach. If you think he's stealing something, then go get the damn police. Why do you call Austin like he's the damn police? You see? So now I also feel like Austin, he felt like, oh, I gotta be the man and stand up. No, Austin, you don't. They're also 17. They can fight. They can all fight. And matter of fact, they can go get the damn police. This is out of order. This is all out of order. It's all out of order. And instead of everybody using this as the learning lesson to make sure it doesn't happen again, oh no, I'm gonna use this to beat down black people because I'm still mad about Derek Chauvin. Listen, if you're that upset about Derek Chauvin, you are more than welcome to go fight for his appeal. You white people know how to put money together, right? Go, 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 whatever it's called, right? Y'all can start a GoFundMe over there and raise money for him to take his case to the appeals court. If you are so convicted that he was only convicted because he's white and he did nothing wrong, and that George Floyd was already dead, right? Since y'all know, you guys know the corners, you know so much about this bullshit, no problem, right? Since you are so sure that George Floyd was already dead, and that no matter what Derek Chauvin did after the fact, he's not responsible for anything at all, then it should be an easy case to take to the appeals court, right? We have a system. If you don't like a conviction, you appeal your conviction. If you feel like Derek Chauvin doesn't have enough money to get the right lawyer for his appeal, then all you white people, instead of just talking about how mad you are, just put your money together, right? You talk is cheap. Put your money together and get Derek Chauvin the best lawyer for his appeal. And if you are right that he had nothing to do with killing George Floyd, it will be proven. And then you can say, hey, black people, we told you that he did not kill George Floyd. And here's what the medical examiner proves. Go ahead and do that. But you're not doing it because deep down inside, you're not really sure that that knee didn't have a part to play in why George Floyd died. There you go. Because if y'all were so sure, that's a problem. These are the same white people who told us y'all went to the moon. You know how hard it is to go to the moon? But if you're able to go to the moon, you should easily be able to get Derek Chauvin out of prison, right? You are the same white people who believe that human beings can go to Mars. Okay. Do you know how hard and expensive it is to go to Mars? It's a lot easier to get Derek Chauvin out of prison at the appeals court. Take his case to the appeals court. If you are so sure that his knee on the neck had nothing to do with George Floyd dying whatsoever, because he was already dead. The same George Floyd that we saw say, I can't breathe, I can't breathe. So he was dead, but he was still saying, I can't breathe. Like, what is wrong with these people? Right? How can you say you can't breathe if you're already dead? When you see Derek Chauvin with his knee on George Floyd's neck, is he still talking or not? Y'all would just say all kinds of stupid shit. He was all kinds of stupid shit. I understand people even saying, like, you know what? Even though, like, yeah, okay, it was wrong what happened. I don't think that black people should have statues of George Floyd because, given like the Black American fight, he didn't play a big part in civil rights. I get that. Did he deserve a statue? Probably not. Would I have given him a statue? Probably not. Okay, to me that was a little too much, right? But can you really say that he was already dead? When was he dead? Because the video that we got to see, he's saying, I can't breathe, I can't breathe, I can't breathe. So how can you be dead and talk at the same time? But like I said, maybe you guys know something I don't. And this is why in America, we have a system of checks and balances with the court. If you don't like this decision from this court, you go to a higher court and you dispute the decision of this lower court. And I wish you guys all the best. But I'm saying, from my vantage point, it's a lot easier to get Derek Chauvin out of prison than to take people to Mars, than to take people to the moon. So if you know how to take a bunch of men to the moon, right, you should easily be able to get Derek Chauvin to moonwalk out that damn prison. Okay, I am sick and tired of white people and their boohoo tears over Derek Chauvin. Because I'm pretty sure that even I, Marlene, if I reached out to Derek Chauvin and asked the man, when was the last time you received a letter from any white person in America? He gonna be like, yeah, they don't write to me. If I was to go ask Derek Chauvin, when was the last time white America ever even put money on your book, help you to get commissary? He gonna tell me, you fools don't send him shit, right? You don't give a fuck about Derek Chauvin. You use Derek Chauvin as a proxy to want the courts to be weaponized against black people. If you truly care about Derek Chauvin, this man be out by now. He truly will be out by now. But it's not about Derek Chauvin, is it? It's about you having some kind of justifiable reason to treat black people like shit and to make black people feel like you deserve a tribal mock kangaroo court, and then we can just do whatever we want to do to your 18-year-old. You will not get to do whatever you want to do, whatever you please to do, whatever you wish to do to Carmelo Anthony. And if you're putting your faith and your money and whatever you have on this prosecution, please do so. You are low IQ after all. But if all this man did was get up there and ask a bunch of high school kids if in their eyes this was self-defense, When nowhere in the law does the law say it's about what other people think self defense is, he's a fucking joke. What this man did by putting all these kids there is that without a reasonable doubt, there's nobody now is questioning whether Austin put his hands on Carmelo. They have solidified the fact that not only was a request made 15 times, whatever the fuck that is, to Carmelo to leave, but that Austin was the one to push him and Austin was the one to grab his book bag. And that is courtesy of the prosecution. But from this point, whether it's a push, a shove, a nudge, we all know beyond reasonable doubt that the person who made this shit physical was Austin Metcalf. Thank you. Now, the third thing is what? The prosecution has not given us an alternative. So if deadly force was not necessary, then Mr. Prosecutor, what could Carmelo have done? Because if you say, oh, but he could have ran, well, Texas has no duty to retreat. You see, that's why you don't cheer too fast, right? That's why you don't cheer too fast, right? Because what is the alternative? And you can't say, oh, Marlene, he should have ran. No, he doesn't have to run. It's Texas. And he was there. Austin wasn't. So Austin came and found his ass there. There you go, right? So he didn't have no duty to retreat. So what alternative do you have? Right? What would you like the jurors to consider that Carmelo could have done instead of doing this, and that? Right? You haven't told anybody that. What you did was turn the courthouse into a funeral procession, a funeral service. We're crying, okay, Austin is dead, Austin's body. Da. You just want people to see blood, 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 and people to just have a visceral reaction. But the court is not about an emotional stance. No one will disagree that seeing anybody dead is too much. That's why America needs to stop sending the bombs to the Israel to kill all these innocent people. That's why America needs to stop killing people in Iran because nobody should die, right? It's not just a white kid in Texas who shouldn't die. Bunch of girls going to school in Iran do not deserve to have their head blown up just because they're Muslim and they wear a hijab. Human life is sacred, not just in America. Human life is sacred, not just the life of white American kids. All people matter. Remember that? All lives matter. There you go. Austin lives matter. So does Carmelo's life. All lives matter. But right now, white people want it to be white lives matter. No, I don't know. Okay. And I'm sure the jury will see otherwise. But what was the alternative? What else could Carmelo have done? Because running away is it's not an option. So what else do you have? Right? And when it comes out that Austin had this boy in a chokehold, I hope you guys can deal with that. I hope you guys can deal with that. And all these social media platforms, it's crazy to me how in America, when you say anything about Jewish people, you have fact checker stuff coming up. If you say anything about C19, there's a whole label on your video. There's a label on your Instagram post. There's a label on your TikTok video, right? You talk about the Jews, you talk about C19, you talk about the jab, right? You'll have all these labels. Oh, fact checker say, fact checker, fact checker. But when it comes to black people in this country, anybody can say whatever. When it comes to an accused black person, anybody can say whatever. Where are the fact checkers that, hey, this person above whose video you're watching is just expressing an opinion. This case is still in trial, and we have to wait to know what truly happened, right? Understand? And I was saying that to AI today. Like, if I had the means, I would fund the NAACP to sue these social media sites because certain groups are protected. Certain groups, when you say something about them, automatically there's a whole label that shows up under the video, under the post, to let people know, hey, this information might be erroneous, or this person here is just stating an opinion, but this is not something that comes with evidence. So consume this with caution. Why don't they have labels anytime a black accused person or a black defendant is being smeared through the mud? Because this nation here is racist. Okay. So I said, my people, not gonna be here for too long. But if we're not even just supporting Carmelo, but if you truly stand for the Constitution, if you truly believe in self-defense, like, you know what I'm saying, if you truly believe that, if you believe in due process, right? Listen, we have next week, but right now, where I stand, to me, the prosecution has not done a great job showing that, beyond a reasonable doubt, that Carmelo did not act in self-defense. Because what we heard was Austin touched his ass, pushed his ass, grabbed his shit. Okay, on top of yelling at him also verbally. So he can do one, two, three. but somehow he's not the aggressor. No, 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 no. All right. So be encouraged. And remember Muhammad Ali. Remember some of your greatest fighters. It's not that they went in the ring and started punching like crazy. It's about how many blows you can take, how many hits can you take to wear your opponent down. And then you gonna start to whoop his ass. And by God's grace, we ain't gonna have to go 14 rounds with this crap. Okay? Let people tire themselves out. Let people cheer early. Let people be silly. Let the people hear what they want to hear. The most important thing is when the juries go back to deliberate, that they say, hey, would a reasonable person believe that at that very moment, given the weather, given the location, the concrete steps, the metal this, da da da, the size discrepancy between Austin and Carmelo, the knowledge of martial combat, right? Would a reasonable person believe that at that time, at that very moment, Carmelo had a reasonable belief that his like he had to fear for his life? The answer is yes, that he's found not guilty. Okay. So let your heart be at rest. And when it comes to you reading these comments, the crazy comments, do not be afraid. Go ahead and read them. And you will see that they don't get it. That's when you'll see how low IQ white people really are. Read the comments and see what they're talking about. Should he have brought a knife to school? The people are all saying the same things. All the students are saying this was not an act of self defense. And look at section 931, 932. What does it say? Right? Does it question whether or not you brought a weapon on you, had a weapon? No, it doesn't really matter. Right? It's about the use of deadly force. At that moment, did you have a reasonable belief that you were in fear for your life? And if that stands, you're acquitted. They can go cry boohoo tears somewhere. Okay. So do not be afraid to read it. Read and see it. You'll see it for yourself. A lot of white people in America truly, truly are intellectually inferior. I'm not trying to be mean, but they're not that smart. They're really, really stupid. I've never heard that we confer upon high school students. Okay. No, I confer upon you to determine what self defense is. They're high school kids. They're 17. They are 17. You are clapping because we're asking 17-year-olds if they think this is self defense. Why don't we ask criminal attorneys if they think this is self defense? Okay. But you ain't going to do that because I'm sure most criminal attorneys will say, yeah, that's self defense. All right. Look at the location. And many times you hear it too in the testimonies of all these people. Oh, it was raining. It was wet. It was wet, wet, raining, raining, wet, 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 wet. And all this water, all this wetness, metal bleachers, concrete steps, people doing all this bullshit. It's crazy. It is really crazy. So it's really nice to be dry in your house and go, oh, I wouldn't have done that. Of course, because you're currently not under an imminent threat for your life. So of course you're fine. Even me right now, I'm fine. Nobody's threatening my life. But if I was threatening right now, I don't know what I would do. Okay. If you were threatened right now, you don't know what you would do. Right. So be encouraged, you guys. Be encouraged. Okay. All right. I got to go now. Okay. Love y'all. Be zoo. Bye bye.